Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Live from the secret bunker in the northern Nevada desert, somewhere near Reno, Nevada. Home of the sex worker. The one state in the union where prostitution is, in fact, legal. So you'd think I would know something or two about that, wouldn't you? Fortunately, I don't. Is every woman a sex worker? Why are we even calling it sex work now? Why is that a thing? It was a wonderful euphemism. Coming up. Hey, back in the saddle once again. I have a new... No Ned today. Sorry. I was actually going to bring him in. I probably should have brought him in. All right, there we go. That's enough of that. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the live show once again with me for at least 2 hours and probably 3. So today we're going to be talking about why we're talking about sex work instead of prostitution. Why is it called that? Why are we calling it sugar babies? Why is that a thing? Yeah. I see you all in the house right now. I do have Sam Bada is going to be my mod today, so pay attention, be nice, play nice, everything will be good. I see you, Sir Mr. Jason. How are you doing? And there is Sammy right now. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for joining us. Nice of you to join the fun today, because today is going to be a really weird one. So I wanted to dig into this because I have been seeing this going around quite a bit, and I have done, I don't think I've done a dedicated show about like sugar babies or sugaring. And I'll talk a little bit about that today. I probably need to do a full episode on that. I have written several essays about that. I am going to be doing a Q&A towards the end of this today, guys. So hold if you got a really burning question or something like that that's off topic, hang on to that until probably the second hour. I'm gonna if it's related, I'll be happy to post it up there. But definitely want to try to stay on topic as best I can today. Oops, was this? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, NEO. This is definitely going to be an interesting show. I should certainly hope so. This is a screener for me. Does she have Insta? Can I see it? Snap off. Okay. All right. Well, okay. Slow down, everybody. Everybody slow down.
Hello there, children. How's it going?
Okay. So today I wanted to talk about why are we even having this discussion in the first place? Why is women's first and only agency her sexuality? That's where we're going to begin today. Now, if you guys have been following me on Twitter, you've seen me drop this quote several times. In fact, it's practically a hashtag for me, or it gets associated with my account for whatever reason. I have said in the past, and I will say it once again, that women's only agency is their sexual agency. That's the only realizable real one. I'm not saying that there aren't other ways women can find an agency. Absolutely they can, but their first best agency is always their sexuality, and that's what women default to. It's a no-brainer. Let's just be honest here, okay? There's a reason why they call prostitution the oldest profession. It doesn't take much to figure out that you can sell a service if your service happens to be your cooter. So that's not, lots and lots of women from time immemorial have figured this out for themselves. So why are we calling it sex work now? Why are we euphemizing? Is that a word? Why is this a euphemism right now? Why are we calling it sex work instead of prostitution? Twitch girls, sex work. OnlyFans, sex work. Sugaring, sex work. Actual prostitution, sex work. Let's see, sexual therapy, right? You got your therapist who wants to knock it out with you. Sex work. What else can we, throw some more out at me, guys. You're in the chat. Throw some more at me here. What else what else can we consider sex work? Because right now I keep seeing these articles about how we need to respect sex work and how we need to find ways to, it's interesting because sex work usually tends to be just whatever women are doing, right? Naturally, we associate sex work with women. Now, I wanted to throw that one out there first because we need to talk about women's agency before we talk about anything else. So what is agency? Agency is sort of your ability to do things. I don't want to say it's power so much, but that's certainly part of it. Instagram. Is Instagram sex work? Maybe it is. If you're an influencer, wait. I got another one. What was one? Try on haul, right? There are dedicated channels on YouTube for very good looking, granted, usually very good looking women, and sometimes a pair of them on the same channel. And what guys are doing is what simps are doing is essentially sending them the lingerie or the swimwear or whatever it is that they would like them to try on. Now, naturally, if they're being considered as some sort of like really top channel influencer, let's just say what's the difference between a sex worker and influencer? Is it just like your gender, I guess? But try on haul is haul, Haul is where girls get, the young women, and some of them maybe even a little bit older, get free stuff. And they get to try them on as long as they make a 20-minute video, giggling and saying, "Oh, look at this, blah blah blah. Here's my butt." Is that sex work? Maybe it is. I think so. If it's a bikini or whatever. I know YouTube is really pretty sketchy about. It's funny to me is like you can do pretty much anything goes on Twitter. Obviously, Instagram is a little more. You gotta cover a little bit more, but you can show a little bit more than you could, like say on YouTube. And YouTube is very. I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, you can show off body parts and stuff like that, but not like no full nudity or anything like that. As far as I know. Save that stuff for Pornhub, I guess. But is that prostitution? Is that a sex? Is Sterling Cooper a sex worker? I would argue that he is. I would say male porn stars are certainly sex workers. Are they prostitutes? By the legal definition, perhaps. Even Sterling has said the same thing. So I don't think I'm like throwing Sterling under the bus for saying so. He makes money. I mean, by the biblical definition, he makes money by getting after it. So. What are you saying here, Bullrush? He says, why is girls' agency being in that assumed to be a bad thing? Oh, I'm not at all think it's a bad thing. I think it just depends on your perspective. I'm not here, once again, Bullrush, as you know, I am not here to make judgment calls. And I know people are probably hacking up in disgust for this. Let me scroll down here. Sorry. Nudity is nudity. Remember when softcore porn was a thing? Remember when it was just sort of like it wasn't actual like hardcore XXX porn. Like people don't even remember. There used to be a time when there was a thing called softcore pornography, which was just sort of like it was like simulated sex, and it was just you're just basically seeing the chick naked, and you weren't even really seeing the guy. She was just sort of like grinding on the dude, and you used your imagination kind of thing. There was a softcore porn, and then there was like hardcore XXX porn that you had to go find and search out, and you'd hang on to your porn when I was a teenager. You would hang on to your porn mags like they were pirates' gold, right? it was like blood money. It was like if you needed something, if you needed money or whatever, you could trade a hustler for it or something like that if you were underage, if you were under 18 anyways. And it was always a good day, or it was always a good find, right? If you could find something like that. It's interesting to me to think that the kids today, it was interesting to me to think that, like, if you're a 10-year-old kid today, if you're a 10-year-old boy, you have access to a degree of sexuality, of hardcore intercourse sexuality, and women too, young girls too as well, have an access to sexual media, let's just say, that like dynastic emperors in China or kings and the pharaohs of old didn't maybe they had something that was reasonably comparable to that, but Now it's at all you got to do is just look it up on your phone, and it doesn't matter what the parental controls are or whatever else. Makes no difference whatsoever. If you're curious, if you're a curious child, you can certainly find that stuff out. And it's really kind of whack to me that and now I'm making a point here. The reason why I'm making this point is because that pornography is only just that, like, is pornography prostitution? Can we call it that? I mean, where do we draw the line? Because I was doing a little bit of studying for today's show because I didn't want to step on too many toes here, because I know a lot of guys there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to watch this, or guys who are going to be in the book 4 is already available on Kindle, dude. I'll give you the link. It's already on. It's been out. It's actually, that was the first thing I released it on, Peter. It's already out on Kindle. Go look it up on Amazon.com. Even down here at the address, you'll see it. Actually, Peter, go to the very first link in the description of this video and you will find it. That's book 4, religion. So is pornography prostitution? And what's the order of degree for that? Like, is it, well, you showed your ass in a mag, would we consider like just like something like a centerfold, like being in a Playboy centerfold, would we consider that pornography now? I can remember now, this is going to be really funny. I remember religious guys who would hit me up, or maybe I was at church, right? Or maybe these guys who I know who are religious guys who are at the gym or something like that. And they would explain to me, like, at certain times in the year, like I think it might've been spring or might've been summer. I'm not sure when it comes out, but I remember when the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition was a thing, right? Like, people are like, whoa, boy, here it is. Oh boy. It's like, you can get porn whenever you want, right? You're a grown ass man. You can go get pornography whenever you want to. But they were like, oh, I don't want to have anything to do. They were either too excited or they were too like nervous or stressed about it, because it was something that like question. I don't say question their faith, but like it was like a temptation, right? It was a test of faith, I guess, that, you know, the young lady that is on the cover of Sports Illustrated, the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, was going to tempt them into impure thoughts. And I can remember that. And it was at a time when I think I might've been in my late 20s. And I was like, okay, you know, coming out of that era, I guess was sort of interesting to me. But that was a big deal. And guys would call that, I remember, depending on, again, by order of degree, it depended on the guy, but they would call that pornography. And if it was something that would like they were petitioning grocery stores to put, like, you know, covers in front of certain things. I always laughed at this, because if you go in a grocery store, I don't know if they still do this or not, but if you go in a grocery store here in the United States, anyways, there are certain grocery store chains that they'll have like the tabloid magazines up in the front, like by the checkout counters. And they will put like little blockers in front of like little, you know, blocks of wood, some kind of like card that goes in front of these. So you can maybe see the title, like the masthead of the magazine, but you don't see the cover model, except for if it's Cosmo or it's Glamour or it's People Magazine. That's okay. But if it's Maxim, then it has a cover in front of it. If it's Sports Illustrated and it's a swimsuit edition, unless of course it's like some big cow that's on the front of the magazine, right? Then it's got a cover in front of it, which is strange to me, because I'm like, where does this come from? Why is this why is one a thing and one not a thing? Why is it okay that we show like Glamour magazines and we show was it Marie Claire, right? Why is that okay, but we can't show the cover of Maxim? Is that not, I mean, I think what initially the idea, of course, is probably enough women complained that this is an unrealistic standard of beauty, which is ridiculous today. And I'm going to start with that right now real quick here, is that if you've ever read my first book, you'll know what I'm going to talk about here. With this is that women have much higher standards for male beauty idealized masculine male beauty than men will ever have for women. Ladies, sorry to burst your bubble. You want a red pill truth, ladies? You have a much, much higher standard for the guy who's like the elite level, good looking beauty standard, right? Nobody questions that. Nobody talks about that. No one wants to talk about like we'll talk about all day long how we got to put magazine covers in front, or like look the covers in front of the covers, right? For Maxim or Playboy or Pen. They used to do it for the porn magazines, which seems like a no-brainer, of course. We'll do that. But then they get upset about the airbrushed. Of course, it's not airbrushed anymore. It's all digital, right? We don't have a problem with apps like Face App. We don't have a problem with what is it, Facetune? I'm sorry, I'm probably dating myself. There's other apps, basically anything that sort of like makes you look a whole lot better than you actually are, so you can represent yourself online, or the image of you being a whole lot better looking than you actually are. We're okay with that, but yet when we look at the magazine covers, ladies, that's not okay. Because that promotes an unrealistic standard of beauty. Really, if you go and you look at, I think some of the Nike commercials, or there's some of these women's sportswear ads and such right now, we're looking at really grossly, in some cases, morbidly obese women who are being put out there, fronted as if they are, healthy at any weight, right? Which is dangerous to begin with. But let's look. Okay, I understand that. We talk. You want that explanation? We can talk with Rich Cooper about that, because he's done a lot of episodes about this. But what is it that motivates that? That's what I want to get. Let's bore down. Let's drill down a little bit more into why this is such a big deal. And the reason for that is because women want to at least have some assurance that they're going to have at least some kind of access to elite level men. And if we can convince men long enough that beauty is in some way a social construct, or men only, like unrealistic standards of beauty are something that society teaches guys, you should really want that hot girl with the big boobs and the blonde hair and the blue eyes, right? You should want that. Like we're conditioning our young men to only want that. And it's like, no, guys want this innately. We want a young, hot woman, younger, hotter, tighter, right? We want that fertility, with that age of fertility, right? 23. That's at every age. That's what guys are looking for. That translates into women's beauty or men's beauty standards or whatever. But here's the thing: men's beauty standards are so varied that it's absolutely. You want to talk about a double standard? This is the double standard. The real double standard is that women's standard for idealized male beauty is much more strict, much more static than men's are. And if you don't believe me, ladies, go look at any niche of porn on Pornhub or whatever. Guys are into everything, man. Skinny girls, fat girls, midgets, blonde hair, brunettes, black girls, white girls, Asian girls, this girl, that girl, girls with, deformed, whatever. It doesn't make any, if it's a niche for it, if there's a fetish for it, it's usually the guy that is fixated on it, not a woman. There are no calendars. There's no niche porn for women when it comes to stuff like that. They want what they want, and it is always very static. So why am I getting into this? Well, the thing is that when we talk about male beauty, when we're talking about like prostitution, the thing is that guys, and here's why I'm getting into this first, is guys have such a varied desire, like old girls, fat girls, young girls, skinny girls, whatever it is. Pale girls, spinners, whatever. Name the niche, and women can exploit that. They can make that into a commodity. That's why there's a niche. I can remember, and it's like escalation. It's like nuclear escalation. I can remember when. Oh, hold on a second there. I'm gonna back up just a touch so I can catch up to some of these. I can remember back in the day. Wait.
I was there 3,000 years ago.
Yes. I can remember 3,000 years ago when a girl would shave her paunch, right? Shave the cooter. And that was niche porn. And you had to like search that out. And if you asked your girlfriend to like shave down there, like all of it, like it's one thing to get a landing strip, right? It's another thing if she's like shaving the whole thing off. And women were like, oh, well, you really like that? So they were either like, you're a perv for wanting this, or they were like, all right, here, game on, commodify it, right? And now nobody cares. Nobody cares about like a naked cooter or like I was going to say a big bush right now in pornography is like, that's now niche porn, which is strange. But you had to go and search that out. I mean, back in the late 80s, early 90s, that was something that was sort of like one of those, ooh, okay, we're going to get into this kind of thing. And then after that, it was getting the navel piercing, right? The belly ring. Can you imagine? Can you think of a girl right now that doesn't have a belly ring. Like, I mean, that doesn't have the piercing of the navel piercing. That's like de rigueur. Go look that up. There's your vocabulary word, your French vocabulary word for today. It's required pretty much. Is a belly. In fact, when I see a woman that doesn't have a belly ring, I presume she's a model, because sometimes they don't want to have a distracting belly ring if they're like modeling like swimwear or lingerie or something like that. So, but I can remember when only strippers got belly rings, and you're like, oh, game on, right? Or she had like a tongue piercing or something. You know, that was like, oh, there's only one reason a girl gets a tongue piercing. And then, of course, what happens is every girl gets a navel piercing, because it's an arms race. And so what happens is like, okay, well, that's the next degree, we're going to that. And then it was the tramp stamp. Then it was the little, thing across the back. I think right now it's the one that's underneath the boobs or whatever, like the chandeliers that go underneath the boobs. Makes your boobs look like chandeliers, lady. The chandelier tattoo. There you go. But then tramp stamps were a thing, and everybody's like, oh, can you imagine when she turns into a grandmother, she's going to have a tramp stamp, and her grandchildren go, Mom, Grammy, what's that? Right? That whole thing. I remember having those conversations, and it's just like, that again, a tramp stamp was what a hooker got, or prostitutes probably, but strippers got, because strippers were like the ultimate. That was like, if you could nail a stripper especially back when I was in in my Hollywood, rock star 20s, that was sort of like, that was, you reached another level, right? If a stripper was into you, and now of course strippers came with a lot of nutty, problems, but that was kind of like, oh, well, because a stripper is sexual all the time. She makes her money being sexual. Is she technically a prostitute? She's selling her sexuality, she's not actually having sex, but she's selling the potential or the possibility of sex. And that's where I wanted to pick up here, is because when we get into what it is that guys are into, women are very adept at picking that up. And I mentioned this on one podcast prior. There's a woman who was on OnlyFans, and I can't remember her name, but she is like the top 0.001%. She's like the best, making $150,000 a month. And she's very attractive. I will admit she's a good looking girl, but she is not the centerfold. She is not the big Hollywood starlet. She's not, big boobs and blonde hair, blue eyes. She looks normal. She looks kind of attainable, and that's why I pointed her out. I told this to the ladies on the Fresh Fit podcast. I think it was my second time out there, when I was out in March. And I told them, I said, they asked me this. They said, why are guys so hung up on OnlyFans? Why can't they see that these girls are like, exploiting them and using them as pay pigs or simps or whatever else? And I've done shows on simps. So if you want to ask me questions about that, go look at that episode first. And I told them this. I said the top earning. I said, if you want to make a lot of money on OnlyFans, make yourself look accessible. Make yourself look like the girl next door. Still be sexual, still be fun, still be flirty, still be sexy, but don't be so sexy that you're intimidating. Because most guys today are so unused to any kind of female attention, even if it's virtual attention, that they're more comfortable sitting behind a screen and talking to you and typing this in and paying you a small fortune just for your attention. And the most successful girls, I still think this today, are the women who are kind of like they exude this good girl vibe, and yet they still have that sexuality, so that you're still on the hook. You've got the guy on the hook sexually, but she seems attainable. She seems like, well, if I met her in real life, she would never be one of those club girls. She's my special girl. I would meet her in the library, at the school, or the bookstore, right? That's where you're supposed to meet quality women, right? At the bookstore or Bible study or whatever. She's kind of, there was a term, it's kind of gone out of vogue, but there was a term back in, and I mentioned this in book 4, my religion book, a term for women, Christian guys would term their girls the righteous fox. That's what it was. Amy Grant, if you know who I'm talking about. Amy Grant was the righteous fox. Like, she was the hot chick that could sing, and she was but she was a Christian, right? So she the potential for man, she's so good looking. If we could just get married and have babies together. And so the idea of having that pure sexual experience with her. And she seems attainable, right? She seems kind of like the nice girl. She didn't look kind of like the pudgy girls in Bible study or in the youth group or whatever it is. She had a talent, of course, obviously. So she's kind of a celebrity. She's up on top of everything. You guys have no idea who I'm talking about. But what's ironic is she ended up leaving her husband to get with, I want to say it was Vince Gill. And so she ended up cheating on the husband with Vince Gill, and we're supposed to forgive her and all this other stuff. But she was the righteous fox. And I had actually, I have I didn't put it in the description, but I have an essay called Chasing Amy, which is exactly about Amy Grant. And it was based on this other blog or this other post. I think it might have been a long gone post called Quest for the Righteous Fox. And that led me to think that, it doesn't even necessarily matter whether that girl is like just an in your face, shameless prostitute, right? Doesn't matter if she is, the centerfold. Those are easy. That's easy pickings, right? We can see that. Like whenever I watch Fresh and Fit, and they've got like was it last night? Yeah, it was last night. No, night before. It was Friday night. They had 18 girls on the show. And again, I'm not putting anybody on blast. I thought this was actually pretty entertaining. But if 3 or 4 girls on there is good, is 18 really that much better? Myron and Fresh, really? Is that gonna push you over the edge? Because it seems like herding cats at that point. But all of them speak the same language. All of them are influencers in some way. All of them have, and even if they're not, even if they have just sort of regular day jobs, right? I'm a medical examiner. I work in a factory. That doesn't matter, because your regular job is just now a vehicle for your OnlyFans, for your brand of you. And I'm going to get to that at sort of towards the end of this little rant today, because I want to talk about how dating has become brand management. And that's really all these. I've been struck by this every time. I thank you, by the way, Fresh and Fit, for doing your show, because it is a great insight. It's a great social experiment, particularly for somebody like me, because it's every time I watch it, I get some kind of fodder for a new show or a new essay or something. And so I'm watching every one of these girls. And I'm like, are all these girls on OnlyFans? And not all of them are, but they're certainly interested in it, or they're certainly interested in, they have to manage their brands, their brand of them, which for women is always defaults to their sexuality. Again, women's first best agency is her sexuality. Women understand this from very early age, that once from time maybe they hit puberty, that if they're sexy and vivacious, or if they've got big boobies or whatever, that men will pay attention to them. And I wanted to throw this out there really quickly, because I've mentioned this one before. Let me get to these things here. Why is girls best being, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends on how it's applied. It's like saying the red pill is a bad thing. The red pill's radicalizing young men. Well, is it? Or is it just the way that tool is being used and applied? Let me ask you this. Are there ethical ways, should there be ethical ways for women to leverage their sexuality? Or should it just be one or the other? In a binary extreme society, thank you for that, by the way. That's a really good question. Is there an ethical way for women to leverage their innate sexuality? Assuming they make the most of it. Most women don't. Most women don't have to be sexy, and they don't learn seduction. They don't learn how to turn a guy on. They don't have to. Why would they? They're empowered. It's the man who has to make the effort, not the girl. All she has to do is look kind of cute and look sexy and compete with her other girlfriends, whether she knows she's doing that or not. But she's not the one who like most women today, like certainly in this generation and the millennial generation, I would say too. And really, I mean, even Gen X, right? Still have this idea that men are the ones who always have to qualify to them. And in most cases, they're right, particularly from the time that they're 23 or whatever. They're dancing monkeys. Okay, whatever. Men have to perform. Women get to select them from amongst them. If you saw that one short video I did about that girl who was saying, oh, well, we can only select from the guys who actually come on to us. No, not really. Especially now in the OnlyFans age, where you can maximize your exposure with your brand of meat. But are there ethical ways to do that? Should there be? Like, what constitutes prostitution? Because a lot of guys, like if I almost called Aaron Clarion on that. I probably should have. Because if you read the book of Numbers and you look at the kind of money that a guy spends in order to either get laid or to find a girlfriend or to perform better, let's just say, like become the best version of himself. Like how much does it cost a guy to become the best version of himself? What should it cost? Is there an ethical way to do that? Is there some moral? I'm making judgment calls here. I don't usually make judgment calls. That's why I'm asking the question. Should there be a good way, and is there a right way and a wrong way for women to leverage their sexuality? And is there a right way and a wrong way for men to up their game, right? To be better performers, to be better, to be higher value men, let's say, which I think is kind of the buzzword for 2021, maybe a little bit of 2020. Higher value guy. We used to call that guy alpha. But if you don't want to call it alpha, if we're sick of that term, we're gonna now call it high value man. Okay, fine, whatever. Abstracts, call it what you like. But is there an ethical way to do that? Let's see. Peter says, "Okay, I got to you, and I am catching up. Thank you for that, Saeed. I cannot give you. Oh, Drape Toman, what's up, man? What women are doing on sites these days is relationship rinsing. She never has to promise or even allude to having sex. Of course not. That's what I was saying before. Dre, you probably put that out there when I was discussing that. I think the number one. If you want, again, ladies, I'll tell you guys this. I told the ladies on Fresh and Fit, I said the number one, if you want to find a way to really up your game, you want to get into the higher echelons of OnlyFans and make more money, become more accessible, become attainable. Work on the fantasy. Man, I should be an OnlyFans girl coach. I really should. I could make a freaking fortune off of you ladies. Just here's the keys. Like, here's how you do this. And I know that, like, digital pimps on cam whore sites have been doing this for forever. But now that we have like this next generation of women who think it's a career choice to get on OnlyFans, and they're wondering how they can maximize that, I guarantee you this, that there will be grifters who will grift the grifters. That's how it always works. Like I'm on OnlyFans. How can I make myself better? Lucky for you, with the power of psychology and Evo Psych and the red pill, I can tell you how to be better at OnlyFans and how to manipulate and exploit men all the better. Really? Here's some money. And you know where that money comes from? Not from them, from the simps that they're trying to get more money out of. That's where it will come from. But it's the image, it's the attitude, it's the atmosphere of attainability. I could get that girl. Oh man, she just look at me, like pay attention to me, Susie. Oh, but she's not like those girls I see, those skanks I see in Dan Bilzerian videos. She's real. She's for real. She really likes me. Like that reality, if you can tap into that, freaking gold, ladies. Gold. Absolute gold. Corey, thanks. I think that was a sticker. Not sure. Thumbnails epic. Thank you very much. By the way, speaking of which, I'm actually, yes, I am kind of surprised. I'm at 1,200. I'm almost at 1,300. There I go. 1,300 live views right now. Please get those likes up. Thank you. And I in no way will stop the show. You should get those likes up. You know why? Because I never stop the show with goofy stuff, except for this.
You lose. Good day, sir.
I don't put modem sounds to stop the show, so you guys will put likes on there. So please appreciate me, respect me, and put some likes on there. So that said, so we're at like 1325 right now. And if everything drops to like 0, you'll know why. Because somebody will say, oh, this thumbnail offends me. That thumbnail, by the way, is from a poster that was popular, I think, in 1947. It was post-war, so it was 1947, 1948. So I'm just the messenger, man. Don't throw rocks at me. Throw rocks at the people in 1948. I repurposed that. I repurposed the thing. Let's see, what else do I got here? I'm gonna catch up. Sorry, guys. Thank you for that compliment, by the way, Midnight Samurai. Mr. Sir Jason, sorry, I would put you on, but it got past me. He says, what's going on, brother? You're correct. I've been recently reading A Billion Wicked Thoughts. Very good book, by the way. A little bit dated, but the principles in it are very good. A Billion Wicked Thoughts is by Ogvis and Ogvi. I think they're they're Indian, like sociological, psychological researchers. And they were the first guys to write a book about the new data sets that were coming out in the internet age. And I think it came out in 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. I actually wrote maybe it was later than that. Now that I think about it, I wrote an essay about A Billion Wicked Thoughts. And it's the statistics. Like in this day and age, we have accurate statistics as to how many women want to get in OnlyFans, how many women are into this kind of guy, how many women are, we have a word called hybristophilia, right? Why is it that women want to get with thugs and convicted criminals and murderers and people? Why is it that we have to, like, if women want to become prison guards, why is it that we have to separate them from the male prison population? Well, because too many women were falling in love with these thugs and trying to break them out. That's why that policy is instituted. Only the women. You don't see guys, maybe the guys will get with the one chick in the female prison, but I don't even think, I'm wondering if any prison guards would know anything about that. But by and large, they don't allow female guards, whatever, prison guards to be with the male population as a result of that. Well, we can look at the stats for that. Same thing. Wicked Thoughts. That's exactly right. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Sir Mr. Jason. And let's see, I got to JWB19 says, that's why it's hard dating. Okay. We're going to get to dating. On dating sites for men, female beauty standards are just too idealistic. Yeah, they tend to be. They are too... It's not so much, let me get that. I got laid with a girl later, became a stripper, wasn't a current or post stripper. Unfortunately, does that still count as a stripper lay? Sure. I'll allow it. That counts as a stripper lay. There you go. T-Man Scott. Let's see. David Franco. It's almost like Don DeMarco. Stefan says a woman should leverage her SMV to secure a good mate and inculcate her children with values of civility. I presume you are referring to Stefan Molyneux, and from a Save the West methodology or narrative, I understand why he would think that. I think that's completely untenable. Because you're giving the average woman way too much credit when it comes to, inculcating her children with the values of civility. How's that working for you? Right? How is the, like, would you trust your children with any woman from the millennial generation or this upcoming whatever we're calling it, Gen Z? Would you trust them with inculcating your children with the values of civility in general? And no, that's something you have to do if you're going to make a judgment call, and if that's what's valuable to you. That's why I don't call it, by the way, I don't call it traditional masculinity. I call it conventional masculinity, because everybody's traditions are different. My traditions are different from yours. I'm from this is what I've been brought up. This is how I've been raised. I think masculinity, in a sense, has its own definition when it comes to conventional aspects of masculinity across race, across nationality, across tribe, whatever. I think that there are things that define men conventionally. But when we talk about traditional or what are your values, you tell me what those are. And if you hold those values, do you think the average woman actually shares those and would know them and would be, rooted and grounded in them enough that you would go, yeah, she'd make a really good teacher of values of civility to my kids. Okay. Is hypergamy a straitjacket? We'll get back to that. I've already done a full episode on that. Anon. Hypergamy is not a straitjacket. There's your short answer. What is this? What is the rest of these? Got that one. Oh, there we go. And last but not least, I'm going to get to this before I continue here. Success is knowing yourself. Agree or disagree? That sounds like a really cute aphorism. That's a nice truism. You could put that on we can put that on a motivational poster. Yeah, success is knowing yourself. Well, it's know thyself, right? We've been saying, who was that? Shakespeare? Descartes? Is that what it is? I think therefore I am. It sounds good. I think it sounds good as a nice motivational poster you can put on your wall. Whatever quote, whatever reminder you need. Okay, fine. Yeah, know yourself, but it's better to understand your own nature as you understand the machine that is you. Does loyalty really exist? Good one. I think it can. I think it does. I think it has to be learned. I think it depends. I think men have a better understanding of loyalty and honor than women do because it's innate to men. Women have to. It's something that men have to learn, or excuse me, that women have to learn. Whereas men, in prior generations, anyways, have learned what loyalty and fidelity. Let's just say that's why it's called fidelity. You know, it's because it's a brotherhood. It's a solidarity amongst men is really kind of fidelity. And it's like being true to that state. The fraternity, I guess, is maybe what I'm missing there. But for men, I think honor is something that we innately understand because we know that, because men have a different definition for respect than women do. So anyways, getting back to the point here. Why is it that we're now calling prostitutes what we would have in any other age called a prostitute? Why are we calling them sex workers right now? And I'll explain to you why that is. We're using it as a euphemism because we're trying to normalize what we're seeing right now. And I will tell you this why. Here's why we are doing this. So let me share my screen so you guys can get an idea what I'm talking about. Where's my Chrome tabs? There they are. All right. First and foremost, let's look at this one. First order of business. NHS worker turns to OnlyFans because she can't afford to pay her bills. Yeah, that's good. Can't afford to pay her bills. An NHS worker, National Healthcare System worker, has launched herself on a subscription site OnlyFans to make ends meet. The East Yorkshire woman who does not want to be identified. No, she does. She just doesn't want to be identified on this site. Is advertising herself as, this is original, K Cutie Pie, and says she doesn't have any boundaries. As well as being available for sending pictures and videos, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you've got this woman who works for the NHS. Got it. That's number one. Let's move on to number two. Who's next? This is just the ones I picked up this morning. Let's see. Oh, this is a really good one. She's kind of cute too. Renee Gracie. You guys can see that. Yes, you can. Renee Gracie appears to be in the porn game for the long haul. The former V8 supercars driver turned X-rated social media star who was working with around 700,000 followers on Instagram and bringing in a staggering amount of money each month. Those days ended when Instagram deleted her page. Oh, and she had to start all over again. I guess she took it too far being a V8 supercar driver. Let's see. She has since created a Twitter account to help build back her fan base. And with doing so, she has stepped her porn game up as well. Gracie is now posting previews of her doing multiple sexual scenes, either with her, just herself and objects, or with another man. Okay, well, we get an idea of what Renee Gracie here is all about. Now, remember, do you guys remember? You guys remember back? I think it was 2019. Was it 2019 when the Gillette commercial came out? When the Gillette commercial came out, and we were supposed to be better men. We were supposed to. We were all, of course, these horrible leches. We were all these. Hey man, bro. Hey, bro. Don't go after her. Don't touch her. Blah blah blah. All right. Remember those days? Well, seems to me there's two sides of this coin. And now in 2021, all that great stuff that, by the way, that Gillette commercial was produced and directed and created by a militant feminist. And I can't remember. God, I wish I remembered her name. I did. I wrote a whole post about this. I think it was in the gender war post that I did. And yet at the same time, in a gynocentric social order, we're supposed to be okay with a woman who goes from being a healthcare worker or a ex-racer, I guess, to becoming a porn star. But wait, there's more. Where did you go? Oh, let's not stop at just the sexy racer. Let's look at Meet the Sexy Hunter, who's making a killing on OnlyFans. The striking conservationist explains how trophy hunting and OnlyFans revenue helped South Africa wildlife. Well, again, is there such a thing as ethical porn? Is there such a thing as ethical leveraging? Maybe she's not doing. Is this porn? In any prior era, this might have been considered softcore pornography. Now, of course, she's killing giraffes. That probably, I don't know where that goes. Maybe it's attractive. Maybe this is, okay, killing gators. You got me. Go ahead. Kill gators. As long as you do it in Florida, I'm good with it. But still, I've got this, here she is. Let's see. At age 24, I moved to South Africa to start my career as a conservationist, where where a typical day involved studying the animal that we wanted to manage and then stalking out the herds to detect the weak and old members, which we then hunt down. So not only are they, not only is she out there posting pictures of hunting, they are the weak and, infirm members. Now, of course, she's showing off her ass at the same time that she's showing off her hunting rifle. Is that even a hunting? Is that a hunting rifle? I'm a gun. I'm not I have guns. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what I have, but I have guns. That to me looks more like an assault weapon, an AR-15. That looks like that's what that is. I have an AR, so I know what it looks like. Do you shoot? Is she using it? Because this looks like a hunting rifle to me. But that's neither really here nor there when she's in lingerie. Ladies, how many times have you been in your lingerie and looking at your ass going, man, I've been getting in the squat rack a lot. I think I'm going to go take some pictures with a rifle. Again, is she doing this for a good cause? Maybe she's not doing actual porn. See, there's the hunting rifle. That's what I would expect, right? Anyways, people are going to hack up and discuss, well, that ROLLO TOMASSI guy, you don't know anything about guns. Let's see, what else do we have here? But there's more. Here's my last one, guys. I promise. You can find your own. You can create your own. Find your own stories about the girl who went from being whatever, a surgeon. Somebody sent me one about a woman who was a police officer, a detective, who was posing in front of a Lamborghini, I think. And she had gone from being a policewoman who had gone through the academy, had gone through all the training, had gone through all the schooling, had done all her, everything she was going to do. I think I'm going to screw it. I'm going to be a stripper. All right. Screw it. I'm going to go make money on OnlyFans. Here we go. Here's my last one. OnlyFans mom enlists 13-year-old daughter. Again, are these the women that you trust to instill the values of civility into your children? Are they? OnlyFans mom enlists 13-year-old daughter to take raunchy pics of her. Horrible. I love this. The byline is just horrible. UK pop star Carrie Katona, who now makes money by operating an OnlyFans account, recently revealed that she enlisted her teenage daughter to snap racy photos of her to post online. The former Atomic Kitten, there you go, I'm naming my next band Atomic Kitten, singer and 40-year-old mother of 5. Again, is this the kind of woman that you would trust to instill the values of civility in your children, in your five children? Told Closer Magazine on Sunday that her children don't mind her showing off her body online for money. Okay. Her 13-year-old daughter, Heidi, even takes some of the pictures for her. Mums have as much right to, I'm going to talk like a leprechaun here, much right to show off their bodies as anyone else. So do we have gentlemen, are you exercising your right to show off your body? Because it's a right. They have as much right as anyone. Well, who else is anyone? Women, mothers, people of the female persuasion. How many of you, shouldn't that make like dick pics? Like, hey, you have a right. I can now do what I like with my body as long as it belongs to me. Okay. She told the tabloid, my children know I do it. And Heidi even takes some of the pictures for me for the site. Again, are there ethical ways to do OnlyFans? I understand it because people are going to throw rocks at me. They're going to say, well, ROLLO, OnlyFans is not just for porn. Yeah, well, but that's mainly what it's for. I mean, who are we bullshitting here? Sorry guys, some of these got away from me. David Francesco, here you go. David Franco, I got to you. Did I not get to you? What are your thoughts on the concept of men are always to blame for the behaviors of women? Glad you asked, because that is actually part of my notes today. What I mean is women act as men permit. Yes. Are we our sister's keeper? I talked about exactly this last week for a long ass time, Dave. I'll get to that. I will touch on that just a little bit today. But if you want something a little bit more in depth, go look at the Sister's Keeper video I did. Would OnlyFans exist without beta money supporting it? That's the thing. As women, that is, in fact, let's just get to that right now because that's like in the middle of my notes here. I might as well push forward. What happens is you will get women who are either non-competitive or for whatever reason, they don't want to get into OnlyFans, right? Or maybe they can't. Maybe it's a necessity thing. Who knows? Whatever it is that prevents a woman from getting into OnlyFans, that makes women less competitive. Because today, dating, sexual advertising is brand management. Really, that's what it is. I wrote if you've seen I did actually post a new post on the Rational Male this week. It was called, what did I call it? Truth, Merit, and a post-gynocentric social order. Okay. A post-gynocentrism, I think is what it was. Anyways, the gist of the article was is that, I was trying to answer his question. People say I didn't answer it quite well enough. So I'll just throw it out here for actually, let me just call it up real quick. Question I asked on truth, awareness, and the post-gynocentric world. Okay. So I get these questions all the time, and this is it. I've for 12 some odd years, I've been getting this. Is ROLLO, why should a man bother with women at all today? All women today, yes, all women are vain, self-important, narcissistic, hubristic, and entitled. And again, this is not my words, but they are kind of my words. What average man would ever want to have anything to do with the average woman? Average man, average woman. We're not talking elite level woman, elite level man. We're talking average, Joe average, like a 6. I'll give you a little credit, like 6, okay? By the time a girl reaches her late teens, she's already conditioned to expect a high-value man is what she's due in life. By the time she's in her early 30s, she still hasn't had the delusions of her entitlements dispelled for her, no matter what the realities of her situation might hold up in her face. Case in point, 40-year-old woman getting her 13-year-old daughter to take pictures of her for OnlyFans. What's the average guy supposed to do about the average woman? So again, I'm not talking elite level, high value men and women here. I'm just talking about like you're the mean average. You're the top of the bell curve right there. And it's been my experience or my understanding lately, particularly in the manosphere right now, is we can throw rocks and hold women we can hold women accountable. Holding women accountable is the new hotness in the manosphere. And I'm not just referring to Kevin Samuels. I'm talking to a lot of other guys who are doing exactly this. I heard a clip of Steven Crowder, who's magically become red pill. He started talking about the rise of the she-economy article that I quoted several times actually in my 4th book, but I've also talked about it with Aaron Clary on his show and on my show about the economics of the sexual marketplace. I talked about that in reference to how women by 2030, women between the ages of 25 and like 45, I think is what it was, about 52% of them, I believe is what the stats are. I might be wrong, will be single and childless. And those are just the if we at present rate of growth, at present rate of attrition, I guess, whatever it is, ladies, if you're between the ages of 25 and 45, I think it was, and you have not married by that time, or just statistically speaking, you will not be married and you will not have children at the rate that we're going right here, at least in Western nations and certainly in the United States. Louder with Crowder, Steven Crowder quoted that. He started talking about essentially using a lot of the language I use in the Red Pill uses, but also in my books. And I thought that was interesting to hear it come from him, because I had heard it come from Tim Pool back as early as the beginning of March, I think, when I was out with Fresh and Fit, and that was we were talking about that, right? They were suddenly everybody wants to be red pill. It's a new hotness, right? We can talk about that because it's like it's making. Suddenly it's popular to make women aware or hold women accountable. Although you're not really holding them accountable. You're just holding up a mirror. You're just showing them the rational stats. You're showing them the empirical truth, which is what the red pill has been doing really, I don't know, at least as long as I've been around, at least as 2002. But now we're standing up and we're taking notice because that's the new hotness. Holding women accountable. In fact, I talked about that in the last episode. That was the title of it, right? But it's not holding women accountable. It's just holding up stats. Because if you're going to hold a woman accountable, it means she's going to actually learn something from that, and she's actually going to change her mind about things. They're not. There's no incentive for them because they have things like OnlyFans, because they have these opportunities to leverage their only real agency in life in a way that has never been available in the history of humankind. And you're not going to teach them anything different. Are you going to tell the 40-year-old woman here that, you know what, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't have your 13-year-old girl taking pictures of you. You shouldn't do that. That's not instilling values of civility, right? You shouldn't do that. You're not going to tell her that. Because while you're mouthing those words, while we're saying, if you really want to get a man, then you need to lower your standards. Or if you really want to get a man, then, you stop looking for the guy who's 6 foot tall, 6-pack abs, 6-figure income, 6-inch or bigger schlong, whatever. Like you're not, they don't in one ear and out the other. That's what it is. There's your gift. They don't care because the numbers don't lie. They're making more money than they've ever made in their lives. You think you're scolding them is going to make them change? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So are we our sister's keeper? I don't think so. At some point, women have to be their own keeper. And you're not going to get that. Like when I was asked the question about, what do you think about Stefan talking about women finding the right girl, finding a good quality woman who is from the Amish Dutch country and have her raise your kids with the values that you hold dear. First of all, what are those? And then second of all, that's kind of hard to do when you have to tear her, the girl in the Amish Dutch country, to pull her away from her OnlyFans account, she's probably got one too. Because it's the new hotness for women, of course, but it's like you don't put that kind of money. It's like what is it? I remember now I've dated 4 strippers in my life, and in every one of those instances, and not all of them were drug addicts or anything like that, but they knew somebody who was, and that was one of the things that kind of kept women in the business, kept them in stripping, because women could go and make money in stripping like they couldn't make anywhere else. I mean, Chris Rock used to have this joke about like how women in the strip clubs would always come up with some story about how they're stripping their way through college. Now, I don't know, maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but they're there because they're making more money than the lawyers and the doctors that are in the strip club making it rain for them. They have the potential to make more money than a very well-educated guy, the top ones anyways. Now take that dynamic and globalize it. Make it available to any chick, anywhere, anytime. You start your profile, you don't even need a webcam. You don't even need this nice A6400. All you need is a cell phone, and go buy one of those little holders from Walmart. Your investment is a cell phone and $16 for a little holder and a tripod, right? And you're in business. Set it up and you're good to go. Are you going to tell like every one of these chicks, and there's more, There's lots more. The girl who was the pastor, I can't remember the guy's name. Mitchell, John Mitchell. I did the interview of. His wife was previously a pastor, and now she gets into OnlyFans and she gets into porn. Are you going to tear her away from that kind of? She doesn't care about him. She doesn't care about her kids. That's more money than she's ever seen in her lifetime. Certainly not as a pastor, pastoress, or whatever the hell they were trying to sell her as. She don't care. So is it ethical? Is it not ethical? Is it something that should she be doing that? Well, the reason why we have to call it sex work is to make it ethical. Is to make it sound like, okay, well, whore sounds kind of bad. What euphemism can we come up with? Hooker, prostitute, hoe, hizzo, skank, slut, whatever it is. We can't tell. No, that's sign of the patriarchy and misogyny. You need to call them sex workers. Sugaring, that's basically another form of leveraging women's sexuality. Right? Yeah, and guys, but if they've got the money, they don't care. Most of the guys who would be a sugar daddy in the first place, they're good with that. Don't fall in love with her, guys, but they're usually good with that. Transactional sex for guys who are okay with it, the world is their oyster, man. As soon as that 22-year-old turns into the 29-year-old, you go pick up another 22-year-old. And as long as you're okay with that, as long as you realize that her act of actually, her feigning genuine desire, her faking genuine desire for you is really just her being a good actress, you're just paying for the performance. They're paying for the performance of her to be as convincing as possible that she really has a genuine desire to bang you till Tuesday till glory, right? So if you're okay with that, good. Well, okay, is that ethical? Is she a hooker? Is she an escort? I saw a few videos, and I think maybe it was Aaron Clary. He was talking about like legalizing prostitution. Should prostitution be legalized? And I laughed. And I'm like, it is. It pretty much is. I mean, depending on what your definition of prostitution is. Now, a lot of guys will say, well, and I know Aaron has made this case as well, is that all relationships from men and women tend to be transactional anyways. So even if, and I guess I kind of understand this because when I was talking about validational versus transactional sex and I was writing those essays and everything, I will always get this question, which is, isn't eventually everything transactional sex, right? Isn't it always a transaction? Like I've been married, coming up on 25 years. Isn't marriage just prostitution? Like she's trading her sexuality because if you like, sex is the glue that holds a relationship together. That's why when guys get into sexless relationships, is that a break of contract? Is a breach of contract? Well, if it's a transaction, then it's a breach of contract. It's a breach of your covenant. It's a breach. Well, you can make it into apply whatever flouncy metaphorical truths you want to the whole thing. The nuts and bolts of it is this is an exchange. I'm going to forsake all others. I'm only going to have sex with you, and I'm only going to breed with you. And in exchange, I'm going to share my resources with you, and I'm going to, perform as well as I can as, the best version of myself that I can. Is that not marriage? Been doing that for at least 25 years. I got into marriage. I make it sound like it's a hobby or something. I mean, when I was 26, 27, I sure as hell didn't want to get married. I did not want to get married. I was just fresh out of that BPD relationship, and I had a freaking kid in a candy store, man. And at that point, it was like, do I want to? People say, well, how did you vet Mrs. Tomassi? I didn't. Honestly, I didn't. I had to vet myself because I want to say, is this a woman that I can actually be like, I could live with? Is this somebody that I could be faithful to? And that was my first question to myself. Is this somebody that I enjoy having sex with so much that I could be faithful to this person? Because I know me. I've seen me do it. I've been the cheater and I've been the cheated. So that was my first consideration, really, above anything else. And then other considerations came after that. Ask me about it sometime. Actually, when I do my 25th anniversary show, which I probably will do in July, you can ask me about it then. So, but is it not a transaction? And I read a few articles in preparation for the show that were asking that same question. Now, is it over? Like, is prostitution only about going and picking up a skanky hoe on the street and paying her with meth, right? No, that's a hooker. That's illegal. Well, should escorts be illegal? Should a female companion be illegal? And I'm not talking about even having sex with her. I mean, like if you have to go to if you're like a businessman or you're an exec or something and you have to go to sort of this high end event and you're like unmarried, or maybe you're, in between wives, or you're divorced or whatever, and you need a companion to go with, and you're not having sex with her. She's just sort of arm candy for you. Is that prostitution? She's presenting the appearance of being at least somewhat sexually accessible to you. Therefore, in that situation, improving your status because you're this guy with the semi-attractive, depending on what you get, right? Escort, is that ethical? Should we make that illegal? Should we not make that illegal? So when I get questions like this, Dave, like, are we our sister's keeper? Is it just the guys that who are facilitating this? Well, in a way, yes. But at what point does men's investment in it end and women's responsibility for it begin? And that's what I was getting at. And I think that's one reason why you're never going to hold women accountable, because their investment begins and ends with the most money they've ever made in their lives. And you can, I can do show after show after show about this. Hold women accountable. Get her. I don't care. She don't care. They don't care. The money talks, bullshit walks. That's why. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Who cares? In fact, she'll get offended that you would even say that, because by attacking the method for her to be successful by saying you ain't living right, well, that's easy to defend against. That's easy to tear down because you're just a misogynist. You're just a guy who's old. You're just this old guy on the internet. How dare you talk? How dare you question me? Like, I have a right to show my body. Okay. Well, you're not going to teach them anything. What are your thoughts on Esther Villar? I've read The Manipulated Man. Everyone keeps asking me about this. Yes, I've read The Manipulated Man. Okay. And yeah, I mean, for the time, that's like asking me what I think about Dr. Warren Farrell's book, which is great. I have it here in my bookcase right now. It's called Why Men Are the Way They Are. That book, if there was a point, if it was a book that red pilled Rollo Tomassi, it was that book. And I read that back when I was in my early 20s, because that book was published in 1986. And a lot of the truth and a lot of the stuff that in there are still very much applicable in 2021. Contextually, they're outdated. Same thing with Esther Villar. Contextually, outdated. Are there truths in it? Yes, there are. So, and I know why you're asking me this, because is prostitution a manipulation of guys, right? Yes, it is. You're right. Women have that ultimate power over guys, so long as men are willing to allow it, right? There's your responsibility for guys. Keep your dick in your pants. Well, men are held to a standard of controlling their sexuality that women will never in their lifetime be held up to, although they will say that they are. Women will tell you that they are held to these unrealistic beauty standards, unrealistic standards of fidelity or so. Men are repressing us sexually. No one is doing that. We can see that now because we have the stats and it's in our face every single day. Go watch Fresh and Fit will probably be on tonight. Watch the late night after hours show, and you tell me, is women's sexuality really being repressed in 2021? Bullshit. It is not being repressed and has never been repressed, at least for the last 45 years. All we have done is promote the idea that women need to be get in touch with their sexual side. They're just as sexual as men. No, they're not. But we want to promote the idea that they are, because that gives women leverage in a gynocentric social order. So long as the feminine imperative is the highest, the most preeminent goal of a social order, a society, so long as that's the case, you're always going to repress what? Maybe prior to the sexual revolution, you would have had a case, but we're still making appeals to a sexual repression or patriarchy that hasn't existed since 1965. But we're still using the language, the same BS, right? Oh, well, we teach girls not to be confident. No, we don't. There's a whole industrial complex devoted to fempowering young little girls. It's called Disney Pixar. It's called popular media. It's called Feminist Baby, right? That's the kids' book, right? Let's illustrate Feminist Baby. Activist Baby. That bullshit. Go walk through Walmart or Target or wherever you buy like young children's clothes, and you'll see the boys' clothes will be like dinosaurs and a truck or something like that, and the little girls' clothes will say "Girls kick ass" in pink letters. Guarantee you. Go look now. I've done this before. I've actually gone. Was it Target? I think I've gone through Target and taken pictures of it and of the shirts with the slogans that are on the shirts. Boys' shirts, girls' shirts. Oh, God forbid you do it around like Valentine's Day or like back to school sales and stuff like that. Every single one of those shirts for little girls has some slogan on it that is meant to, in some way, create the idea or the atmosphere or whatever it is, the understanding that little girls are superior. Little girls are what you really want to be. And we'll say, well, we're trying to build up their confidence. Now we're beyond just building up confidence. This is actually propagandizing our young little girls at the expense of boys. You want to know why boys are purposeless and directionless and the Lost Boys generation? It starts right there in Target, back to school sale, right there. I'm 36 and gave up ever getting married. Don't bother, boys. It's pointless. Okay, well, then don't get married. That's not your goal. Let me ask you this, Clarence. Do you listen to Kevin Samuels? Do you listen to, let's see, who else? I'm trying to think who else. Stefan Molyneux might be a good. I'm not making comparisons between those, but the message, the overall message is usually the same. Find a good quality girl, settle down, have babies with her, and be married and live happily ever after. That's the goal, right? Is that your goal? Is that what you want? I ask this every day. I'm going to do it again this show. What do you want? Do you want to be married? No, forget it. It's the worst thing. It's the worst decision in the world. Well, then why are we doing shows where we say women are hubristic and we need to hold them to a higher standard and we need to hold them accountable? Why? For what? To what end? I've been saying they're prostitutes, right? They're OnlyFans chicks. They're only what I made the joke. This like every woman's a prostitute except your mom, and your dad thinks that she's a prostitute. That's the idea here. That's what most guys are picking up on. You see it every single day on social media. You know, it's hard. I understand because it's really depressing and it makes guys despondent. But when they see that every single day and you go, the juice ain't worth the squeeze, MGTOW, whatever. I wish you were right, man. I wish that was a good thing. I have a great marriage. I love my wife. We have great sex. She's fun. She's full of life. She just, I almost feel bad. Like I wake up in the morning, I see my wife and I'm like, there are guys that would kill to have what I have. There's guys that, there are my haters. Some of my worst haters have told me this. I wish I had what you had. They're not telling me that now, but they have in the past. And they're still, throwing rocks at me because I'm married for 25 years and that's, what does he know? He's not out there in the field, right? Well, the same guys who throw rocks at me for having a 25-year marriage for, not being in the game or whatever are also the same guys who are going to say, well, marriage sucks. It's like, well, what is it? Did I win the lottery or did I lose the lottery? Am I going the right direction or am I not? What do you want? So yeah, I say this on pretty much every episode that I talk about marriage. It's the worst decision you can make right now. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish everybody had a happy marriage. I wish men and women could come together as complements to one another, understand their innate proclivities, their innate natures, and their innate complementarity with one another, and be able to have a good relationship according to that, have good sex, have good babies, whatever, instill them with values of civility. I wish that could be, but that's not how it is right now. And yeah, I would agree with you 100%. It is pointless. It is pointless right now for guys to do that because you have more freedom. You have more maneuverability as a single man in 2020 than you do as a married man. And I'll be the first to admit that because there are things that you can do right now that I cannot do or that I would not do. It wouldn't occur to me to do, right? There are opportunities as a single man, as a guy who's in the field, that guy who's he's spinning plates, who has all of this really great red pill aware knowledge. You've got the lens, right? You should, if you don't know this already, you are the envy of most manhood, right? Especially if you're like 34 and you're just kind of coming into your own and you're just hitting your stride. And now you're at the peak years where you're not only hitting your stride because if you've made the most of your potential, not only are you doing well, should be doing well in your personal and professional life, you should also be able to be at your peak of sexual selectivity as a guy. Most guys, you want to know why guys have, and I might do a short on this. In fact, I think I might write this down in the great big book of everything. Midlife crisis, right? When guys hit midlife crises, it's usually right around 38, 39, 40 years old. At least classically, that's what it's supposed to be. It's not a midlife crisis. It's guys coming to the realization that, oh shit, I'm playing a game by some rules that no one else is playing. There's a second set of books, right? There's a second rule set. And my life that could have been. Now that I'm 36, 37, 38 years old and I'm hitting my stride, I cashed in my chips too early. I should have waited. I should have listened to what Rollo said, right? Don't become monogamous until you're 30. And even after that, don't even consider marriage, assuming you ever do. Don't consider it until you're like 35, 36, 37 years old, because you will be at your peak of selectivity. You'll know what you want. You'll be a better judge of character, and you'll understand the game a whole lot better. And you'll also understand what you have to lose by making those decisions. You know, if that's the decision you make, at least you can say you made it from an educated position, not from a position of ignorance. That's why I say wait until you're 30 before you even consider. I didn't say don't get laid or spin plates in your 20s. Please do if that's what you want to do. But don't make anything final. Don't set anything in stone until you get to a point where you have a better understanding, not of only know yourself, right? Well, when you're 34, hopefully you know yourself. You're 35, 36, you know what your potential is, and you know what you're hitting your stride. You're making more money. Women are coming on to you. Suddenly you're the bomb, right? Suddenly you're the guy who has the selection. And when guys who have already made that commitment prior, and I'll be the first to admit, I got married when I was 28 years old, right? I'll be the first to admit, if I had to do it all over again, I might have waited like another 2 years or 3 years before I actually said, okay, let's put a ring on it. I probably still would have done it. But if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have just held off a little bit more. Because again, and I was fortunate enough that I was already kind of naturally setting the frame for my marriage, because at 28, I just come out of a really bad relationship. And then I was just like, I don't care. Mental point of origin. It's all about me. These are my decisions. This is where I'm going. If you want to come along, then fine. If you don't, fine, because I'm done with the bullshit. I'm done with making women's dreams come true. Fuck you. I'm making my dreams come true. And you know what? As soon as I did that, women, it was fucking irresistible. And it was just a mental thing. It was just a switch, right? The times that, when guys like say, the times that women really come on to me is when I'm not really looking for them. Yeah, because you're thinking about you. You're manifesting behaviors and manifesting attitudes, and you're manifesting this personality naturally, innately, because you're not thinking about girls. Oh, I'm going to go monk mode. I think a lot of guys think that they're going to go monk mode, and that women are just going to go, oh, he's a Sigma male. He's really brooding and pensive and interesting. No, you're just a gamma who's in monk mode until you start making yourself your own mental point of origin. Until you can turn that switch on. Until you can, and that's why guys always say that. Like, well, as soon as I just ain't worth the squeeze. As soon as I didn't care, that's when women came on to me. As soon as I put a ring on my finger, then I had women calling me for dick sucking contests. Yeah, well, because you don't care. And there's nothing that women don't like more than a guy who is at least somewhat semi-attractive and they want his attention. And it doesn't matter what kind of attention. If they want that attention, then suddenly she's giving you IOIs because you seem unattainable, because you seem to be about yourself in an ocean of guys who are all about her, in an ocean of pay pigs, in an ocean of simps, and an ocean of beta orbiters, which is what we would have called them back in the 2015, beta orbiters, who provide her with a very handsome income, right? So how do you separate yourself? Well, the first step is make yourself your own mental point of origin. So what do you want? Do you want to get married? Because a lot of guys, when they're giving advice, when they're talking about how women ain't shit, when they're talking about holding women accountable, Okay, accountable for what? If she was accountable, what's the end state of her accountability? What is it about her being held accountable that she should get to by changing her ways? And usually it's, well, we're going to get married and we're going to have babies and we're going to go to church on Sunday. That's usually where it ends up. But again, if that's the case, and if, guys will throw rocks at those guys who want to hold women to a higher standard, but the higher standard, where does that standard end? In marriage, which is a place where women have all the power anyways. Of course they would women would love to get married to guys who are high value guys who would provide them with a life and a lifestyle that their astronomical OnlyFans account, or their, at least the belief in that OnlyFans account, is exceeded by. Oh, you're going to provide me with a lifestyle that is better than me showing my ass off on Instagram and on OnlyFans? Sure, I'll marry you. Now it's transaction again. But what's the end goal? Oh, I'm going to sign my name on what would in any other arrangement be called an unconscionable contract. That's what marriage is an unconscionable contract. I put again, if you oh man, Rollo's talking some really good shit today. You know why? Because I wrote it in this book. Go get this book. Everything I talked about is in this book. It's in book 4, Unconscionable Contract. I also talk about the coverture laws, which I thought was pretty good too, but I'll talk about that later. But like, oh my God, this is great. Rollo's he's talking about marriage and how it's a shitty deal for men. Yeah, I did. And I put it in the book. So please go and read that. But it's an unconscionable contract. And from a legal perspective, I had an attorney actually tell me this, was that from a legal perspective, if you were going to go into business with a woman and you were going to call that contract marriage, no, that would be an unconscionable contract. It is so one-sided that no one in their right mind, or no one who's not drunk, or no one who's not coerced, held at gunpoint to do it, would ever sign the contract. And therefore it can't be held legally binding because it's just so one-sided, and it's only, and usually that unconscionability actually can kick in because of certain circumstances and stuff as well. But it's an unconscionable contract the way it's worked now. I wish it was different. Okay. I'm not anti-marriage. I'm anti-marriage in the way that we do it now. But that's the goal. That's why we want to hold women accountable. So men will be more likely to engage in the unconscionable contract. So it's not, again, the responsibility question that I got just a minute ago. Is it men that are facilitating this? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's a catch-22. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You might look good to everybody. Like I've been married for 25 years. Am I not the pinnacle of everything that everybody wants to be, right? I even have a great marriage, and yes, it's definitely a one-sided contract as according to the laws today. And if things weren't great in my marriage and things weren't good in my personal life, I would probably be just as pissed off or just as grinding my teeth as anybody else would. But I don't, because I'm red pill and I'm red pill aware, and I love my wife, and we have a great relationship, a great daughter, and that's who we are as people. I don't think we will ever get divorced, and I know everyone says that, so I'm just not gonna go there anymore. But it's like, yeah, but do I realize that? Yes, absolutely, I realize that. No, it's cheaper to keep her. No, it's not cheaper to keep her. It's it's a lifestyle choice. I like being married with my wife. It's good. I'm good with it. But do I know that it's a one-sided unconscionable contract according to 2020 marriage law? Yeah, absolutely I do. That's why I don't endorse it right now. So let's keep going. I do have a few other things I want to hit on. Actually, one of them, you know what? I might as well hit on that really quickly too, is Samurai Flack. Hey, welcome back, my friend. Back. Watch out. Samurai Flack. I, too, am a fan of Samurai Jack. Black Sheep. Oh, thank you for that. $20, man. Nothing like $20. Thank you very much. And that's actually an orange. This is an orange super chat. Let's leave that on there for a second. Thank you. Let's see. What else do I have on here? Oh, gosh. Sorry, guys. I let a whole bunch of these slip by me. Clarence said, okay, so then I got a super sticker. And who else did I get? CHF, thank you for that. NEO, I didn't get her in her prime. She doesn't get me. I don't. But if I didn't get her in prime, she won't have me in her decline. Yeah, that's a nice little witty, like pithy truism, I think, and I get it, but it speaks to a larger dynamic, which is again, and people. I keep seeing people butchering my sexual market value graph, the two bell curves I've shown on this show. Actually, did a whole dedicated show to it. People keep butchering that because they think that's the new high. Oh, well, here's something that's new. No, that's been around actually. I did that in 2012, I think. But it's true. When you are as a man, when you are on your way up, when you are at 29, 30, 31 years old, which is women's epiphany phase, you are on your ascent, or you should be on your ascent to your peak potential by the time you get to be 34, 35, 36. Some would say later, some would say sooner. I don't know. It's just my round estimates. But at the same time, women have hit their decline in sexual market value in earnest. Now, does that mean that, women don't always look bad? No, I didn't say it. It's not physical. It's mental. Project Althea says, just wanted to say thank you. My life has been greatly improved over the last year because of your work. Thank you. Also have to ask, when are we gonna see a collaboration of the Godfather, the White Godfather and the Black Godfather? You know, what's funny is like I was on I was on Fresh and Fit. I think it wasn't Friday night show. It might have been Thursday night show. And Kevin Samuels came in there. And he was, I would be happy to do anything with Kevin. I think I like Kevin Samuels, Jesus. But, people have called me the God. I've never, by the way, God is my witness. I've never called myself the Godfather of the manosphere. I've had other people call me that, and I just went with it. You call me whatever you want to. I've had a lot of people who call me an asshole, and I just go with it too. But if you're going to call me the Godfather of the manosphere, that's fine. Thank you. People also call... and you know what's funny is I think Kevin is about my same age. I think he's 51, 52, somewhere around there. And so it's like the Black Godfather and the White Godfather. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would love to. If he gets in touch with me, or I think Myron and Fresh wanted to make that happen at some point. I would love to do that. I would fly out. I would fly out just to do that. And I like Kevin a lot, and I think he's doing some good work. I like a lot of people who think that I'm against, like, I'm not against Joker. I'm not against any of these guys. It's like they're taking the tools that I put forth way back in the day, like back in 2013 with the first Rational Male. I laid the groundwork that a lot of people use as that save their life. Rich Cooper, right? Rich has a book right now that is very much like the Rational Male. Maybe it's a little bit easier to digest. I don't know. But again, in every video, he says, like I came in contact with Rollo and we talked and blah, blah, and and then the rest is history. Great. But I don't get mad at guys, even the guys who like kind of blatantly rip me off. At least I can't get totally 100% like pissed off at them because they're still using the terminology that I came up with way back in the day. They're still using the ideas. Even my haters, even the guys who shit on me all the time can't go through a show without quoting something that I've said. Or they'll go, well, Rollo's he's an asshole, but his book is right. His truthful anger. But anyways, I would do it. I would happily do that. So, Kevin, if you're watching, let's do it. Shozan Hanama says, a Tomassi and Samuels collab would end the war of men, and men win. Yeah, I mean, I would like to do a show with him. Maybe we'll set that up. I'll see what I can do. Maybe in the summertime. I don't know what his schedule is. Didn't Kevin like move to Georgia? Is he in Atlanta? He was in Oklahoma for a while, and maybe he moved to Georgia. I think I saw a video or something where he said something like that. But so people keep asking me about, when are you going to be when are you going to be in Miami again? Possibly next month. But you have to remember that I also have like liquor accounts that are still I have liquor accounts in Orlando and in Miami, and then in South Beach, and what's the other one? St. Augustine, Deerfield Beach is another one of them. So I do actually go out there, and then I've got accounts in Vegas. Those are my two main accounts right now because everything else is pretty much closed down still. But the big tourism ones are where I'm doing gigs. By the way, I will be in Vegas next week. So there will be a Wednesday show. I'm going to pre-record it, but there will be a pre-recorded show for Wednesday, but I will be in Vegas for starting tomorrow? No, starting Tuesday morning, and then I'll be back by Friday. So if you're in Vegas, hit me up. J Pot says the real absurdity is a divorced man being forced to pay his ex alimony to not sleep with her. Yeah. Well, think about this, J Pot. That's actually that kind of touches on something I have in my notes here as well. Is that I'm going to blatantly rip off Tom Likas here real quickly. Okay, Tom, this is something Tom said. Way back as far as like I think 2001 is when I first heard this, but you have to be careful of women's debt load. Like if you're going to get involved with a woman, particularly if you've decided that I'm going to marry her, she's the one for me. Look at her credit card debt, because young women, and especially even in this age, are overtly, grossly targeted by credit card companies, particularly when they get into college and they need to make ends meet, and they see a credit card as sort of a means to, buy liquor for their girlfriends for a spring break, or they'll buy, I'm going to buy this cute swimsuit for the guy I want to bang, and the hot guy in the foam cannon party I want to bang in Cancun on spring break, right? Or lingerie or whatever, like funding a sort of a lifestyle that they, as they're, going to college and getting the degree, and now, it's okay, I'll pay it off later. And then they end up with student debts, and then they end up with really heavy credit card debt load. And so yeah, of course, OnlyFans probably seems like a way out of that. And for some women, it might be. But that's something guys have to look at, because what's her debt load? What's her spending like? How responsible is she really? Will she instill those values in my children? Probably not. It's something to keep in mind. And that's actually something that Tom Likas came up with way back in the day. And it struck me that alimony, by the way, is an antiquated law. Now, there was alimony for a long time. Like you can go back as far as like the 1600s or 1700s, I think, and alimony was around. But it didn't become what we know as like alimony until the Depression era in the United States, and then of course actually all around the world. But alimony as we know it is sort of a vestige of alimony of those times. So I think it's if you've been married for 10 years in the state of California, you owe your money. You owe that alimony for life, because there was this presumption that guys would just up and leave their wives or whatever, or get a divorce or whatever, and then they just wanted to be free and clear because of economic issues and during the Depression era. And here you're leaving me with five kids and 5 mouths to feed, and you got to pay some money to keep child support and upkeep. That alimony was part of that anyways. Now it's child support. Now there's no fault divorce. Now there's legalized abortion and all this other good stuff. But again, and so here's my point, because I was going to get to this anyways, is remember when I said that guys today, you have more freedom, you have more rights, you have more maneuverability being single today than you do being married. Now, if you ask feminists or women's studies majors about women of the past, or they will tell you, the patriarchy's still around, and the patriarchy's bad, and evil. Let my people go. The feminists from the 1848, 1849, right? And they couldn't own property, and they couldn't spend any money, and they were basically slaves, indentured servants to their husbands. Like, what woman would get into that? Like, why would you get married if that was the case? And so when I was doing the background, when I was doing the studies for book 4, I came across what was called the coverture laws. Now, you can go look these up. I talk about it. If you want real detail, go look in this book right here in Rational Male Religion. There's a big, hefty section on marriage there. And in there, I cover the coverture laws. And coverture laws was this, is that you, as a woman, if you were single, you could own property. You could inherit money. You could inherit a business. In fact, that's how most women who are like the success stories of like the Victorian era, for example, they just didn't get married. Why is it that we don't look at like Queen Elizabeth? Well, why didn't she get married? Well, because if she got married, then now we got a king and he takes over because she's the woman, right? So of course she's not going to get married. Well, why would she do that? She's it doesn't Doesn't make sense, right? So coverture laws was the reason why they existed was women could own those things. They could own a business. They could inherit a business for sure. They could own their money. They could own property. The problem is that once they got married, all of those assets, the business, the money, the land, transferred over to the husband. And so, like the men of today, women of the Victorian era, way back in the day, it was more economical or it was more feasible for that woman to be single. She had more maneuverability and she could own property. She could do all these great things if she stayed single. The minute she got married, that man took over as the proprietor or the primary owner or whatever, because he's the head of the household, right? Because that's men were men, right? Now, women in the women's study classes will say, well, that's an evidence of horrible patriarchal misogyny. No, it's not. It was actually a legal protection for those guys. Because what would happen is if that woman were able to maintain ownership of the property and especially ownership of money and especially ownership of like a business that maybe she inherited from her dead father or whatever, a family business, if she made business decisions that affected that other guy, like her husband's business or her husband's well-being or her husband's, way of life, right? That those were like legal and financial decisions that she was making that he was not a part of and could financially ruin him because he was responsible for her. And so how did they solve that back in the day? They just said, you know what? All those assets transfer to him. You can't make any decisions about your business, your family business, or their property or your money anymore, because if you make a bad one, then this guy is going to be held on the hook to repay what you would owe if you go into debt or you go into foreclosure or you go into whatever, the business fails, whatever. It was almost, coverture was really kind of an insurance policy for men, because if a woman had a lot of money or had something that was, of value that she could make decisions that would affect him, that's what they were there for. The long and the short of it is that coverture laws ensured that a woman who was not married could still own property. She could still do those things. She could still have, money, all that good stuff. And she could maneuver and make decisions for herself as long as she wasn't married. Today's men are the 1800s women. Probably even before that, right? Because we don't have coverture laws. The coverture laws are baked in to the unconscionable contract, which is today's marriage. So it behooves guys to stay single because they lose. The potential is they lose everything, or certainly lose half, and in the future lose half of their future earnings or their future potential earnings through alimony, through child support, through a million different ways that are baked into that marriage contract or the social contract that surrounds that. So again, the coverture laws of the 1800s are basically what the marriage laws of the 21st century today. And if you want more information, go read that book. Let's see. What else do I got today? Samurai Flak. Did I get to you? Where did I put you? Where's Samurai Flak? Let's see. 37. Sorry, Clarence. Oh, wait, I got Clarence right here. Hold on. Gosh, you guys. Back up a minute here. Paying my respects. Thank you, Dr. Thunder. Dr. Thunder. All right. Dr. Thunder. Man, I want to play in your band. Can I be the bass player for Dr. Thunder? The Black Sheep says, thank you, Rollo. You are welcome. I just put that up. Thank you for that $20, my friend. Clarence, turning 37 soon, making good money, never had more interests. 20 sucked. Don't think of it as sucked. Think of it as an educational experience. If you failed to learn anything from your 20s, then you failed. Samurai Flak, here you are. Finally caught up with you. Pro tip on avoiding the bots. Put the full title in the thumbnail and partial title in text. All women blah. Okay. I've learned that if you put the word woman in a title, that's pretty much not only going to get the bots, but you're also going to get ranked higher for that one word. Look at the guys whose videos like end up going like crazy high. Like look at the guys, the highest rated videos you will see by the guys you probably follow will have something about women or woman or girlfriend in the title. Dragoon, within your marriage, did you find a need? You need a threesome to stay in the marriage? No, not really. I'll tell you why. Because I had threesomes in the past, like back in the day, back in my rock star 20s. And the only way, let me tell you, I'll give you two little tips about threesomes. First off, it has to be the girl's idea. Because if you're too eager, if it's something that you want to do, like, come on, baby, come on, get on it. If you're the one who's directing traffic, it has to be genuine desire between the two girls that are in there. I assume, like that's the thing you want to do, right? So there has to be a genuine desire. And usually that comes from the girls, not you. So if you are, it's like creating date night, right? If you're the one who's contriving the threesome, then it feels like coercion for those girls. They have to want it. They have to be into each other and they have to be into you. That's number one. So you can't make it, it has to be their idea. It can't be your idea. And then second of all, don't be in a relationship with one of them. So like if one's your girlfriend and she says, hey, wouldn't it be great to bring my hot girlfriend in? And you're like, yeah, cool. Oh, you're bi? Yeah, cool. Awesome. Yeah, let's get after it. You will never hear the end of it. And no one is that mature. No woman is that mature. Remember, women prioritize emotion before anything else. And when women are looking to have sex, there's a reason, right? When Billy Crystal says, women need a reason to have sex. And that reason is usually because there's some sort of emotional investment in it. I think women have a much harder time with casual sex than men do. Obviously. I mean, men can separate the sex act from an emotional investment. If it weren't that way, you wouldn't be jerking off to porn. So when women have sex, if they want to have a threesome with you, then usually it's because something they wanted to do, and it has to be something they want to do, and it has to be something that is just fun and casual, and you're not trying to establish some like harem, like some poly harem kind of thing, unless you're. In fact, I think I asked Abu American about this because Abu American Craig has 4 wives. Maybe he's had 3. But the first thing I asked him is, so you're having threesomes or you have foursomes or whatever? He's like, no. He only has sex with one wife at a time because anything else would be haram, I think. So it's not like orgy time, right? It's just one-on-one. You're just dealing with 4 different wives or 3 different wives, up to 4 wives. So no, I never really felt the need to do that. I'll tell you what's interesting. Because people ask me, well, how do you keep it fresh? Or no guy would ever want to be married for as long as you because you'd want to have sex with some other girl, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm in a unique position. I'm not saying I'm like super special or he's magic. I'm not. No, I mean, I'm a dude. I get it, right? I'm even at 53 years old. I see, I'm a little. My tastes in women lean a little bit older now, and I don't mean like 38 or something. What I think is hot is usually like late 20s to late 30s right now, I think. And maybe it's because I'm the father of a daughter who is much younger. Maybe that has something to do with it. But when it comes to variety, again, like I said before, when I was vetting my wife, it was can I be faithful to her? And for much of my career prior to me doing all of this entering in this crazy manosphere world, I worked in the liquor industry. I worked in the casino industry. I worked doing promotional stuff. I worked for, who else have I worked? I mean, I was, a semi-professional musician for about 7 years. Still play, but just because I enjoy it. But I have been, I've been working in the liquor industry off and on, well, more or less for about 13 years. And I'm around beautiful people. I'm around some ugly people too, but I'm around mostly beautiful people. And I get to choose who I want to work with now. And that's going to be beautiful women because I need them to be at the booths to pour drinks for you guys, right? Or whoever. I have to be on top of my game socially. You want to know why I have a good judge of, you want to know why I know what I do, at least as far as field work is concerned, is because I've dealt with young women, young, beautiful women, and some good looking guys too, who I have to choose to do promos as well. I can't just have nothing but chicks there. I have to actually have eye candy for women who are at these events too. So I have to at least keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on socially for a long time. So I have to be in part of that to do effective promos and to be a good brand manager, to be a good advertiser, to be a good art director, to be a good photo editor. You want to know why my thumbnails are so on point? It's because that comes from like 20 some odd years of having to be a photo editor as part of my job. As far as my relationship with my wife is concerned, when it comes to that kind of stuff, she's always been on her toes because she knows that I'm working with beautiful people. So she keeps herself in shape, and it's almost like a form of passive dread. And it's not like, oh, ha, I gotcha. No, it's just because that's just the circumstance. That's just the logistics of the whole thing. So it's not like I'm trying to say, look, bitch, you better get to the gym because if you don't, then I'm out of here. I've never had that conversation. Never needed to. At one point I was just like, okay, it is what it is. Either she's into being with me, she wants to stick around, and this is the case, or this is what I'm doing. She likes it. She likes the fact that I'm ROLLO TOMASSI. She likes the fact that I do what I do. She likes the fact that I'm creative. She likes the fact that she likes me. She likes what I am, right? Maybe she's in love with me now, but women will fall in love with what you are before they fall in love with who you are, assuming they ever do. So that's why I keep saying, women's concept of love is based on opportunism. It doesn't mean that women can't fall in love with you and have a really good relationship with you. Your grandparents can't just like moon over each other until they, one of them dies and then the next one dies. That happens. Sure. People fall in love. That's not a big, yeah. But the how they get to that point is where people lose the narrative, particularly today. Let's see. So no, I never really wanted a threesome, but I never really had to. I'll tell you what's interesting is, and even to this day, when I go on a promo or if I go out to fly out to Miami, my wife makes a point to fuck my brains out before I go. Right. And that's her kind of like subconscious way of saying, I'm here. I'm the home cooking's still pretty good. Yeah. Okay. So, let's see. Oh man, I missed out on all you guys. I apologize. I am getting way behind. I told you I'd start taking these at the end, so I guess this is sort of the end. I still have a few, I got 2 more bullet points I want to get to today. So, Samurai Flack, I got to you. Dragoon, thank you. David Franco Jr., do you think getting rid of the feminist propaganda would stabilize the sexual dynamics? In the past, you couldn't avoid reality as long. Now propaganda tells you that you can. Thank you. Oh, man, see, whenever I think I've lost track or I have got off of my bullet points, one of you drags me right back to it. So here, I had exactly, this is even in the description right here. So, dating is now brand management. And that was something I wrote about in my most recent essay that I linked in the description down there. And one of the things that I've thrown on there, what was it? Let's see. There it is. Okay. How does Gynocentrism perpetuate the idea of evergreen desirability? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, women's only agency, their only real agency, their only means to power, their only means to any kind of like affecting control of their lives or making a statement is their sexuality. How do I know that? Well, because we see all these women coming on today. It's obvious. It's easy to see. We see women coming on into OnlyFans because they see that as a form of agency. A lot of guys, particularly incels, the simps, the guys who are black-pilled, You lose! Good day, sir!
We're never gonna score! We're never gonna score!
Those guys see women today in those positions as very, very powerful. In fact, taken to its extreme, guys think, black pill guys who are sort of never going to cross the abyss or very, despondent, let's just say, see women as very, very powerful because they have something they want that they're never going to get. And they have no idea, or they've resigned themselves to never getting it, never getting laid, never having sex, never getting to the point where they could have a relationship. And it's not just about sex. That's what I told the girls on the OnlyFans, or the girls on Fresh and Fit about OnlyFans. It's not just about sex. It's about your attainability. Because if that attainability is something that a guy really wants, yeah, there's got to be sex. They got to get off. But guys can jerk off the porn. Like there's Pornhub, there's videos or whatever. You can go and get off. If it's all about just a pumping gland, then that's easy. It's not just about that. It's about the connection to the girl who they think is attainable. It's like a waifu, right? It's their virtual wife. It's not the pillow, but it's the girl on the other side of the screen that says, "How was your day, honey?" The concern that it's all an act, of course, but they're willing to pay for that act. Why? Because they want that connection. They want something more than just sex. They do want the sex, obviously, but they want concern. They want appreciation. They want intimacy. They want love. They want the touch. They want most guys, most incel guy, who we would stereotypically call an incel guy, live in such a state of deficit that they're like, it's like giving a starving man a cracker, or giving a guy who's dying of thirst in the desert, give him a little drops of water and to get him to do what you want to do. And they think it's sincere. It's the oasis, right? It's the illusion of sincerity. And so that's what they're into it for. So there's something more. There's something more than just the sexual side of it. And that's where the real power is. Because you can get out, like, when it comes to like legalizing prostitution, I think most women could care less about legalizing prostitution because we're pretty much doing it now. I mean, whether you go to the brothels out here in Nevada, or you go and you're paying $4,000 a month to your favorite girl on OnlyFans, or you're a sugar daddy. It's prostitution by any other name. You might call it a sex worker, okay, but the end result is not just getting off, because if it was, there's more efficient ways to get off, right? Just beat off and you're done. Okay, go back to what I was doing. But there's more than that. There has to be sort of that connection, or the guys want something that's a little bit more than just that. They want a genuine desire, really is what they want, but they're never going to get that. So it's always negotiated desire. And by negotiated, I don't mean like, oh, okay, I'll love you. Not the marriage counseling variety. It's the negotiated desire that leads men to think that a transactional sex is genuine sex, is validated sex. She really is into me. So I tell guys who like, I'm into sugaring. I love having a sugar baby, blah, 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 blah. Okay, fine. If you're cool with that and you can support that lifestyle, and you are a rich guy with a yacht or something like that, or, you know, whatever, that's fine. The danger of that is you are still too blue pill to think that girl might actually somewhere along the line genuinely fall in love with you and be your soulmate, right? That's the danger. As long as you can separate that, as long as you're red pill aware and you're like, I don't care. Next, here's $100. It's next one. Oh, I think I want a redhead today. And here she comes, right? As long as you're okay. Oh, this is my favorite. She's my main. Well, the main that you're still paying. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that. And a really good actress will make you think that. They know you're a mark. Women understand when a guy has blue pill idealism. And if he's got a lot of money, Jeff Bezos, man, he's a perfect example of that. Guys always say, well, you know, I can't believe a guy like Elon Musk, a guy like Jeff Bezos, I can't believe they're not living like Dan Bilzerian. Yeah, well, because money doesn't cure beta. So you get into a real dangerous position as a guy who's into sugaring or likes, you know, paying for it or whatever, and then believing, gaslighting yourself into believing that the girl's really into you. Well, of course she is. Look at her. She's happy to see me. She's asked me how my day is. So whether that's Lauren Sanchez, Dirty Sanchez, saying it to Jeff Bezos, or it's you going and you know, oh, hey, I'm home from work. How's your day, honey? Tap, 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 tap. Oh, here's the fourth. Here, I'm going to tip you. Pay pig, simp, whatever. That's not genuine, but if you think it is and you're gaslighting yourself that it is, you have a bigger problem than just paying out a small fortune for the girl on OnlyFans. So why is it that we want to convince women? Well, first of all, why do we use euphemisms? We want to normalize prostitution. We don't want to call it prostitution anymore. We want to call it sex work. Because if we can do that, then we can normalize it. Then we can make it and then it can become ethical. Or at least have the semblance of ethics, right? Or have a semblance of, well, this is, you know, in the past we were repressing women's sexuality. Now we're not. Now we call them sex workers and not hookers. Same thing, but oh, and if you say it's the same thing, then you're a misogynist and you're part of that your old way of thinking. You're an old man for calling these girls hookers. How dare you, you misogynist? Call them sex workers. That's what we're calling them today, Uncle Rollo. Okay. But why? So that's the euphemism there. But why would we want a society that would perpetuate the idea that women will always be desirable? That's what most of the women, especially on the Fresh and Fit podcast and most of the women that I see on other podcasts, would like men to believe. Like, I forget the name of the podcast, but Rich was just criticized. It's like there's like 3 girls on there, and they look like kind of like the Rules girls, but they're talking about like they're pretty much using red pill vernacular to affect women's priorities for other women. So they want to say, well, hypergamy is this. And then they'll go and say, it's marrying up. Ha, let's do it, girls. Yeah, hypergamy is way more than just that. But they use that because they think that they're going to get, women involved. But so when you have these chicks on there, the idea is that women can be beautiful at any size. They can be beautiful at any age. They should be sexy to all men at all times. So it doesn't matter if you're 59 or you're 19, you can be sexy too, girl. And that's the easiest thing to sell women on, because one of women's biggest insecurities is, first of all, marrying. Women's existential fear is getting with a guy or breeding with a guy who she thought was alpha, who then becomes beta. That's the fear. That's the equivalent of men being cuckolded. I thought he was someone else. Oh my God, I had his baby. I could have died. Right? It's baked into the DNA, let's just say. But women want to believe that it doesn't matter whether they're 21 or 41, right? Why do they call the store Forever 21 instead of Forever 41? Well, because women's sexual agency, women's agency is based on their sexuality, and that sexuality is perishable. It goes away after a while. It decays. And usually it decays a whole lot faster than they think it does. So in a small window of opportunity, women have to make decisions, life decisions, when they are in no way prepared to do so at 23. They used to be, because way back in the day, when a woman hit maturity at 18 years old, hopefully she had been, schooled along in femininity or feminine wiles enough to get the right guy and settle down with that guy and start having kids with him at 22. As early as 1964, the average age of first child was 20 or 22 for women. Now it's like somewhere between 29 and like 34 for women. And that's a real long stretch. So there was there's generational differences, there's era differences, there's circumstantial differences. Yes, I understand that. But what women did not believe is back then, and prior to 1964 even, was that the party was going to stay going forever. And so when we look at the average age of first marriage, which is today is 29.8 for men and 27 for women, I believe, 28.7 for women. And that's in the United States. It's actually older than that later in like the UK and other places as well. Thank you for looking that up for me, by the way. Why? Well, you'll listen to, I've read articles about this. Like, why is it that, first of all, the marriage rate is in the shitter? Why is it that it's only at 6.5%, which is the lowest marriage rate in the United States ever recorded from the time they started recording it? Why is it as low as it's ever been right now? And okay, so that's one stat. And again, these are things that I was looking at in book 4 in Rational Male Religion. Why? Why would it be that way? Well, we can take that in isolation and look and say, oh, well, women are they're becoming more independent, right? They don't need men anymore. They don't have to, they can take more time to, have a career or to do the things that women in prior generations could never do. And we want to encourage that. Or it took her longer to get her master's degree or her doctorate, right? Or she's focusing on her business and she's got to freeze her eggs because, she wants to focus. She was a careerist, right? She wants to focus on her job and her income. Like anything that sounds kind of ennobling, right? For men, if men don't have a wife by the time they're 29, they're kidults. They're Peter Pan boys. Why is that narrative different? Why do we not say, well, he's focusing on his career? Instead, we say, he's trying to prolong his adolescence. How dare he? In the Bible, it says that you're a man supposed to be a man by the time he's got to cater his life to be a good husband and a good provider and da-da-da-da-da. You'll hear that from Jordan Peterson. Shit, you'll hear that from Kevin Samuels, right? I mean, you have to be the guy that is a high-value guy, right? A good mate potential. Reproductive potential, father potential. Like we need to raise good boys. Okay, well, how do you get that? Well, you've got to have good fathers before you get to the good boys. So what makes that guy a good father? Well, he's got to be responsible always, right? They don't give him any authority, but he's got to be more responsible. And he's got to, this laundry list of things that make him respectable are in no way held to women whatsoever. In fact, if a woman's got her OnlyFans, we say, oh, well, she's an entrepreneur. So when a woman gets to like 27, 28, 29 years old and she doesn't have a man, we don't go, oh, she's going to be an old maid. We don't say that. But we do say that of the guys, but we just say it in a different way now. We just say, oh, he's prolonging his adolescence. He's a kidult. He's a Peter Pan boy. He doesn't, they're not prepared to be the fathers of the next generation. They don't know how to instill values of civility, right? No, they just don't want to get involved. They don't want to, and why would they? They've been told their entire lives that they're just pieces of shit, more or less. From the time they were little boys, they say, it's more Johnny, it's more valuable to be a girl than it is to be a boy. Or, so they are defective men that were raised as defective girls. So, of course, they don't want to have anything to do with that. But in addition to that, we also have to look at the narrative that says, don't worry, girl, you're sexy at any weight. Guys, the reason why guys don't want to bang you is because they've been taught by society to have these unrealistic beauty standards. No, they haven't. Men know what they like, and they like a variety. So that's not it. We can say that, but then we got to go look over at Pornhub and look at all the varieties of niche porn that guys are into. We also got to look at the guys who have a preference for older girls, the cougars, the fat girls, the slump busting fat girls, the girls with purple hair, the girls with underarm hair, the girls who are skinny, the girls who are, pale, whatever it is. You look at all the varieties of that. That's why I started with that. When you look at all of that, it can't just be that, because, women have a higher standard of a higher ideal for male beauty than men have for women. Men just go with whatever's been reproductively successful in the past. It's like the path of least resistance. It's like the caribou coming back to the same watering hole. Well, there's a watering hole there before. I guess it's my sure thing. That's where guys. So why wouldn't they, right? But women have to be taught that they are always arousing, or they should be considered arousing or attractive at any age, and we lie to them constantly about that. So when they get to be 29, 30, 31, 32 years old, and men's attention isn't as forthcoming as it used to be when they were 23 years old, well, there's a social convention that says, well, it must be men's fault. Men aren't interested in you because they're kidults. Men don't want to get married. Now you do, because you're in your epiphany phase at 29 to 31, and that the party is going to be closing pretty soon. And so therefore, you've got to find a guy before the doors close, right? Before the lights go out, or whatever, or come on for that matter, right? You've got to find a guy to cash your chips in. But yet at the same time, the narrative is we don't want to teach women to settle because no guy is good enough. Only the highest value guy is good enough. And every single woman that goes on Kevin Samuels, that goes on Fresh and Fit, that goes on Rich's channel, on whoever's channel, anytime you talk to a woman about what it is that she wants in a guy, it's always the same thing. Always the same thing. That's why my biggest criticism of those shows is that it's the same show over and over and over again. And it's not because of the guys. It's not because of the hosts. It's because of the women. It's the women that are doing it. The women, I can go and I can watch Fresh and Fit, and I can have these girls on there, and we can get to the point where I go, okay, here's where he's going to say this. Here's where we're going to, okay, what do you look for in a guy? Looks, money, status. That always the same question, always the same fucking answers. Always the same, like, okay, well, ladies, you don't understand that, men are looking for this and this is how men look at women, and it's all red pill. It's all true. It's everything that I've ever wrote in Rational Male. I love Myron to death. He quotes my book all the time. Please keep doing so. I love you. But it's the same answers. So it's not that it's a bad show. It's great. It's great entertainment value, but it's the same show because the women answer with the same way all the time. It's the same indignation. I can tell you when a girl's going to stomp off the stage, because that's the question where the other girl stomped off the stage because she was asked the same thing, because she was confronted with reason and rationality and statistics and an incontrovertible truth. And she can't, because women originate everything in emotion. They don't have a comeback to it. They don't have the knowledge. They don't, and by then they're probably like 3 White Claws in, but even if they weren't, they still would stomp off the stage because they don't have any counter to it. They have yeah, you're right. And the problem is, you want to know why they get frustrated and angry and everything, is because that truth destroys an illusion. It destroys an ideal that they had. They believed that by 29 or 30, 31, they would already be with a high value guy. And the girl sitting next to her is 37 and she's still thinking the same thing too. And that she deserves that. But I better freeze my eggs and why? Because gynocentrism has, and this is your very long answer to this, is perpetuates the idea that it doesn't matter how old you are. You should be equally desirable at 21, at 21 as you are at 41. But yet it's right there in your faces, ladies. It's always there. What's the reason why it's called Forever 21 and not Forever 41? And they know this. I think women on some level of consciousness realize that the chuck wagon is going to pull, the sexual market value chuck wagon is going to pull out. Sorry, I got this new boom. I knew I was going to do this in this show too. I just got this new boom and I'm still kind of working out the kinks in it. Good, there we go. And so, yeah, so when they're confronted with those truths, it smashes this ego investment. And the ego investment is this, is they've invested themselves and their personalities in the idea that by the time they get to be a certain age, that they're going to already have the high value guy and that they're not going to settle. And if they do, they're a failure. Because feminism and gynocentrism teaches women that if you don't get the best of the best, if you're not optimizing hypergamy, then you're a failure. You're a failure to the independent woman narrative. You settled for second best. You settled for something that you could have got better. He's not the best you can do. That's a problem. We need to teach. You want to know how we get? How do we get back? Somebody asked me this too, or somebody asked someone else on another show about this. Was how can masculine women become more feminine? And I think it was on the show where they had like 18 girls on there. And they said, well, how do we become more feminine? And I had to think about that. And I don't know that Myron had a good answer for that. And I was like, how would I answer that question? I'm glad I had time to think about it, because like, how can masculine women become more feminine? Because you're looking at a generation, like you got a woman who's like 26, 27 years old, and she's very like full of herself, hubristic, entitled, and driven by this idea that the party's never going to end. You want to know why women stay single longer? Why their average age of first marriage is like 28? And in some cases later than that, guys will say, well, it's because they're fat and ugly. Well, no, it's because maybe that's part of it, but it's because they hold out longer than any other generation of women that came before them. Certainly Gen X, certainly the boomer generation. Maybe millennials not, but millennials are a different story. But certainly your grandmother's generation, the greatest generation, the great-grandmother's generation, they got married a long time, way before they had to make that decision and get on with life, baby. But they think that they have time. And that's what gynocentrism teaches women. That it's the idea of evergreen desirability. Your sexuality, your sexual agency, the thing that makes you the most powerful, ladies, it never ends. And incels would love that, would love to beat them. It never ends. They can just spread their legs and just get any guy they want. No, they can't. They don't want just any guy. Because if they did, they would already be with that dude and they'd have babies and everything else. Maybe some of them do, but like they would already be there. The average, if that was the case, the average age of first marriage would not be 28 for women. If they could just get anybody they want, right? Or they'd just do any guy and be done with it, right? Women are not I'm not saying that women don't like casual sex. They do, but they're not, they approach casual sex in a much different way than men do because men can separate themselves emotionally from the sex act. Women have to look for quality. They have to look for honest, genuine cues. So maybe it's a one night stand. Maybe they're just getting banged on a same night lay, but that's different than, as we all know, that's different from the guy who has boyfriend potential, marriage material, right? That guy gets he gets the different kind of sex. He gets the jump through the hoops sex, and she doesn't know why she's doing it. Most women don't understand why they shit test guys. It's like this. It's again baked into their psychology, but it's baked into the DNA. They don't know when women give guys shit tests. Most of them don't realize that some do, but most of them don't realize that they just shit tested that guy because it's so fluid. It's so subconscious that they just default to shit testing him because they have to. It's part of the evolutionary imperative to look for cues to see if he knows how to play the game and see if he's really who he says he is. Feminine intuition, right? Ooh, thank you for that $100, my friend. You go to the front of the class, warrior race. Hang on one second. There you go. Warrior race, go to the front of the class.
Hello there, children. How's it going?
Do red pill men have a responsibility to fight the feminine imperative? Let me keep going. Let me clarify for me. Sons will be taken in fear of possible rape. You can say rape, but we're at the 2-hour mark. It takes another female in power or an Elliot Rodgers case to speed up the process. The stage is being set for the hive to ensure their imperative. It's already ensured. And I wish I had better news for you. This is again, warrior race. This is the what do we do about it question that I always get whenever I talk about this. Well, okay, we've outlined the problem. What do we do about it? When I get this all the time when I talk about responsibility versus authority. Well, if you ask Candace Owens or you ask any trad con, what's the how do we stop the degeneracy in Western society? Well, men need to take more responsibility. More and more and more and more. Guys are overloaded with responsibility, and it's not that they don't know it. They do. That's why they marry single moms and are very proud about it. Would make their own T-shirts, right? I married a single mom. I'm the man who stamped up. That's not it. But the thing is, the real thing is authority. Again, patriarchy was balanced. It was responsibility with commensurate authority to affect that responsibility. Now it's just like, you just need to take more responsibility and be a better slave and be a better this and we'll allow you to have a little bit of authority. No, authority is never given. It's always taken. It has to be. Otherwise it's not authority. There's no authority like force. There's no authority. There's no legitimate authority that is given to somebody. There has to be something behind it. There has to be some sort of, you measure it, you lived up to it. You might get that through respect. You might get that through honor, but you had to do something for it. You have to have some way to earn that authority, to get that authority, but it's never given to you just, oh, here, okay, we're just going to give you authority. Yeah, problem solved. It doesn't work that way. So do red pill men have a responsibility to fight the feminine imperative? Yeah, insofar as you can. It's like, okay, well, if you ask like black pill doomers or MGTOW guys, and they'll say, well, okay, here's how we're going to start. We're going to repeal the 19th. Great. What do you do after you've done that? Then what? First of all, how are you going to do that? How are you going to affect that? What's going to be the fallout? What's going to be the social consequences of doing that first? And then second of all, once you've done that, let's just say you could, imagine you could, then what's the social consequences of actually having done that already? So the process plus the consequences of actually achieving the ends of that process. What's the goal? Because when you can tell me what that is, then there's probably a better way to get to that goal than there is to repeal the 19th or to get something else. You tell me what is the goal that you want to get to by repealing the 19th? Oh, it's so we can get more authority. Well, there's probably a better way to get to that than doing what you're saying, right? There's probably a better process. I don't know what that is necessarily, but there probably is a better way to do that. And if there's not, then at least that will inform your methodology of solving the problem to get to the goal state. If you track with me here. So sons will be taken in fear of the possible. Okay, well, yeah, we've done this. We've effectively, since the 80s, and again, something I also wrote in book 4, since the 80s, we have created caricatures of men. And the characters are usually, there's 3. There's the buffoon. There's the lovable buffoon. He's the guy who is Dr. Huxtable, right? He's Homer Simpson. You've heard this about a bajillion times, right? He's the lovable but stupid husband. He's not like in the 50s, father knows best. At least he has some respect for father, right? My 3 sons, those kinds of things. And then Archie Bunker was sort of this, racist ass hat and who was just sort of this backwards ass dude in the 70s, right? But still looked like he cared for his family, but he was dumb. Or he was just like hard-headed and arrogant and like set in his ways and was just, you're never going to reprogram Archie Bunker. You could reprogram Dr. Huxtable though. And you could reprogram Everyone Loves Raymond. And you could I'm trying to think of other classic like sitcom fathers, because usually people like use that as the example for the buffoon archetype. But you get what I'm saying, is the buffoon is the stupid masculine guy that needs a woman's intelligence and rationality, a woman's, a woman's touch, a woman's charm, a woman's intuition to save him from himself. Oh, Homer, don't try to change the light bulb. You'll electrocute yourself. What? See, I told you here's how you really do it. And you'll see this in commercials all the time. If there's a man involved in most major, like a commercial television commercial, the guy is either stupid or he's there just as sort of dressing. He's like an accessory. He's usually pointless. It's usually the woman who knows he's saving him. It's a mini sitcom is what it is. Most commercials selling you like a car or, a paper towel or something like that. It's usually the guy who's there. He's the one who spilled the milk. I spilled the milk. Mom, come pick this up. Right. It's a mini sitcom in 30 seconds. And what do we get out of that? Oh, men are stupid. They're buffoons. They need women to save them from themselves. Look, Bounty, the quicker picker upper. That's the message that you're getting over and over and over, decade after decade after decade. And then you have the guy who's the potential abuser. You got the guy who is just this side of, he's a misogynist, and he keeps that woman under his thumb, and better do what I say. And he's the guy who's the potential, like, she loves him to death. Usually the woman loves him to death, but the archetype is he's the potential rapist. He's and in a bad way, right? He's not like Christian Grey rapist, right? Such as it is. He's not the guy that she's going to enjoy having dominated sex with. He's the guy who is the abusive husband that she keeps going back to because she can't get a better man. That's the guy that Pearl Jam wrote the song about. Can't find a better man. That's the dude. He's the asshole. He's the borderline. And even if he's not like actually violent or hostile or anything, he's the guy that has the potential for that. And maybe he's the guy that women really love. They like that, but he's still like in the larger scope of things. Say, oh man, he's always angry. He's terrible, right? Well, why is she with him? Why does she keep going back to him? Like that guy, that's the abuser archetype. And then there's the guy who's just the incompetent guy. He's kind of like the gamma/beta male guy. Royce would have called this guy the herb, right? The herbivorous man, kind of unassuming, not necessarily the buffoon, but just sort of like vanilla, right? He's just guy, sensible shirt, Dockers, whatever. That's that. And he's just the Mr. Invisible. Today he would be Mr. Invisible. In prior generations, he would have been like a Delta or something, I guess a Delta male. And so so you have to remember that when we talk about like the feminine imperative or gynocentrism, making rules and legislating things, like we can even point to like say the Duluth model of feminism in this as well. When we look at legislature and we look at the rules that a gynocentric social order makes, it's making them based on those archetypes. So there's the buffoon, there's the borderline asshole, which is the one that everybody like fears, but you know, we got to guard against that guy. And then there's the guy who's just sort of like goes along. He's the male feminist, right? He goes along to get along. He's the ally. He goes along to get along. So when we look at like, what is the, like, we're going to take our sons, right? Well, the reason why a gynocentric social order sees men as potential rapists is because of one archetype, which is the potential abuser. So they're focusing on that one archetype. They don't want the son to turn into that. They want him to turn into Mr. Buffoon. They want him to turn into Homer, or they want to turn him into like sort of good drone. You have to be the beta drone, right? And as far as Elliot Rodgers' case is concerned, Elliot Rodgers was just a terminal beta and a terminal incel. And there's a lot of guys that are just exactly like Elliot Rodgers out there. They are more comfortable and they are more satisfied with their lives grinding their teeth than they are with what. And remember, Elliot Rodgers didn't like, he didn't go and like run over, like he's not an Alec Manassian. I hate it when people keep coming back to Elliot Rodgers and saying like, oh, well, he was the most dangerous. No, there are a lot more dangerous guys than just Elliot Rodgers. He's just the first. That's why you know his name. Alec Manassian got a car and just decided to roll through an open air mall and mow down women, right? Or that guy in Georgia recently who went and killed all the women in the Asian massage parlors, right? That guy. Why do we not look at that guy as the worst of the worst and we still look at Elliot Rodgers? Because Elliot Rodgers killed like 2 dudes and I think 1 woman, and that was it. And the only reason we think he was so bad is because he had a manifesto that we all go, oh my God, he's an incel. They're out there. It's much worse than that. Much worse than him. So, I know that a lot of guys talk about, well, it's the beta male revolt. Well, maybe that'll happen, but probably not before the meteor. Probably not before it's going to have to get a lot worse before there's by their nature, they give up, right? That's what the black pill's all about, is giving up. You're worried about these guys turning into Elliot Rodgers? Those aren't the guys I worry about. It's the guys who are just like so whacked and their lives are so horrible that they'll take action. Most of the dudes in that side of the track don't take action. They're much happier to sit on a 7-hour live stream and go, oh man, those guys in Real Zero suck. That's a satisfying Saturday night for these guys. So, all right. But as far as like changing, how do we change the world? I don't know. People look to me and say, is the end near? When is the final day? You know what song that is. Let's see. What else do I got going here? Thank you for your red $3.99, which I have no idea how. Do you think we could ever go back to normal? What's normal, man? Tell me what normal is. What's the goal state? Go back to normal. Is that like taking the, is that getting in the time machine and going back to the 1950s? Was the 1950s normal? What is normal? Is normal men having authority? Like, what is the goal? Like, that's the problem, is like, you can tell me what's, and you put it in quotes, of course, what's normal? That's why I say, what do you want? So personally, there is that end goal state. What is it that you're looking for? Because if you're going to tell me that women ain't shit but tricks and hoes, and they need to get right with God, and they need to get right with the world, and they need to, think ahead, and they need to be the kind of woman to instill values of civility in their children. Like that's the goal. Then how do we get from point A to point B? I don't know how. I don't know how you instill. How do you create a gender? That's why I said what was it? How do masculine women become more feminine? How do you instill in women an urgency to be the kind of mother who would instill values that would assure that men had authority and women did not? That the balance was changed. It's not going to happen because because women are emotional. It's easier to sell to an emotion. That's what you want to know why women are the number one consumer in Western societies, are the primary consumer, overwhelmingly the primary consumer in Western societies, is because they lead with emotion, not with reason. It's much harder to sell men on things. And now I'm not saying that men don't buy based on emotion. They do, but generally it's the opposite way around. Women are the emotional sex, right? They lead with emotion, instinct, emotion, and then reason. For men, it's instinct, reason, and then emotion. Untrained, let's just say. Like, men obviously can turn into women in that respect, but it's women who are making the personal financial decisions. What I saw an article not too long ago stating that, well, the United States economy, the US dollar, is now controlled by women. Janet Yellen, the women who are in positions of financial power in the United States, it's almost entirely women. And I think it is something like, is it 40 states? I can't remember how many states, like large nations, their economies are run by women right now. The World Trade Organization, World Bank, maybe International Bank, something like that, controlled by women, primarily, mostly controlled by, like, the spending and all that good stuff. And so, what are the decisions that women are going to make that men would not think to make? Oh, we're not going to have wars anymore, and we're not going to have bullshit, and you're going to be completely put on the back foot. You're going to be caught flat-footed because you have women in positions who cannot make decisions that men would have seen coming miles away, right? Because men know how men are. So if you got Putin, you've got China, you got these guys who are like, Putin's going to move into Ukraine and China's going to move into Taiwan, and you've got a feminist government of Sweden, or you've got effectively a feminist government in the United States. Are they going to preempt that, or are they going to go, oh, we need to get to the table and talk about it because it's the world community and da-da-da. Are they going to have like a ABC special with Russell Wilson and Sierra tell us how horrible it is that, we all need to come to the table and talk. It's like the red table talk for Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. That's our foreign policy. Yeah, that's what it's going to turn into. Yeah, I guess it's going to get worse before it gets better. But can we go back to normal? What's normal, man? The answer, and Black CEO, I'm not trying to like burn you or anything, but that's a question I get all the time, and usually it's from tradcons. They'll say, "Well, we need to go back to the old traditional ways of the art of manliness, right? We need to go back to," and here I am trying to like shave with a straight razor, right? We need to go back to standard masculine virtues, right? I'm doing my best Drew Bay impression. Sorry, Drew. We need to go back to that. Well, there is no going back. As I said before, the tradcon mindset doesn't want the red pill. They want a time machine. They want to go back to a romanticized era when men were men and women knew what their places were, and they instilled virtues of civility, right? Like, that would be, show me the time machine, I'll jump right in. But that's not happening. Or they'll say, well, we have to wait for the pendulum to swing back. No, there ain't no pendulum. There's you and there's forward. That's it. That's how you go. And you can take the lessons of the past and use them while you're going forward. Awesome. Please do that. But there ain't no pendulum and there ain't no time machine. So it's not, can we ever go back? It's, what are we going to do when we get to the forward? What are our goals in the future? How do we make the future a better place instead of trying to think of how we can turn that future into 1950? Or whatever it is. I don't care. Whatever your romanticized notion is. It could be something else, right? No. There's only forward. Go forward, young man. J. Rich. Is there any way to save a blue-pilled friend from making a huge mistake marrying a 304? Other than giving them your book? Once again, J. Rich, I will give you the standard advice, which is unplugging men from the matrix is dirty work. It's like triage. You save the ones you can and you read Last Rites to the Dying, and then move on and try to save the next guy. So you can give him my book, sure. Will the guy take it to heart? I don't know. Maybe that's all he needs. Who knows? Probably not, though. what you have to do, what I tell guys to do, like effectively, logistically, practically, is you have to wait for your moments. I know that sounds stupid and almost like a cop out or something. It's not. It is, you have to wait for the right time to have the right discussions. And what I mean, and you have to look for those. You have to actually have an interest enough in your friend to be on your game when it happens. So you see something that happens online, something that happens in your family, something that happens with, like you say, the girl, right? So something happens with the girl and her girlfriend. Something happens when her girlfriend says something, the girlfriend or whatever, her girlfriend or the girlfriend herself says something that you go, do you think that's right? And ask the question. I'll use Socratic method, right? Ask the question and lead the witness, essentially, to the point that you want him to consider, to think. Because most people don't like to be told what to think. There's ways to do it. Like a lot of people say, well, you can't control other people's behaviors. Well, you can't, but you can certainly lead the horse to water. You can't make the horse drink, but you can lead the horse to water and hope that it'll drink. If he doesn't, then okay, you move on. You wait for your next opportunity. But you have to, like I told guys who have sons, like guys will ask me all the time and say, well, Rollo, when's the best time to give my son the rational male? Well, it's hard to say. Well, how old is he now? 8. No, don't give him to him. But you have to live through example, like be the change you want to see in the world, right? In a red pill perspective. You got to be the example that your son sees or your friend sees or your brother sees or the guy that you care about sees. And this is how he handles his shit. This is how he handles his women. This is how he handles his business. Demonstrate, do not explicate. Now, handing in my book might be a way of explicating, but it's also a way of having that conversation. So if you give the book to him, say, I want you to read this chapter, and once you do, let's have a beer. Let's go talk about it, right? Let's have a conversation. I want guys to have a conversation about what's in the book. I've always said that. It's an introduction of every book. So be ready to have those conversations. Most guys, when there's no magic template. Like you have to be the guy that is on your game and have enough interest and care enough about that guy that you want to have those conversations. Even in failure, even when the guy rejects it, and maybe you have a limit, maybe you have a wall. Okay. But you have to be there. Like if something happens in the news, like your favorite, what was it? Was it Kardashian is getting a divorce, right? Like you look at that and, you look at, celebrities who are getting divorced or whatever, and you go, why do you think that's happening? Like ask those questions. Like, wow, like he's got so much money. Why would that ever be a thing? Right? Why is Drake such a pussy? Right? You could ask those questions and then have the conversation about it. So lead the witness. With today's unflattering statistics, encourage future women to change behavior that benefits society. Again, I would say encourage is not the word you're looking for. Thanks, Joe Black. You get to go away. Thanks, brother man. I don't even need Sam to ban you. Let's see. Okay, so here's the deal. Will today's unflattering statistics encourage future women to change? I saw this, and I've used this stat before. There was a cover of Newsweek, and it came out, I want to say it was in like the 80s, like 86, 87. And it was this very unflattering statistic that says if women age 20, 21, 22, all the way up to like 32 or 34, something like that. And the chance of a woman at the age of, say, 28 or 29 of getting married, at least back then, was like 20%. And so if by the time a woman gets to be 34, odds are you're simply going to be a spinster. You're not going to get married. And if you don't, and women take that the wrong way. They go, because that plays on their existential fear. You're saying I have to settle for some guy who I don't want to bang and I don't want to have kids with before I'm 34, or I'm going to be lonely. Fuck that. That's what they say. The same girls on Fresh and Fit who are saying, I would rather die alone. Like like right in your face. I would rather die alone, right? Karens, Giga Karen, right? They honestly think that. They honestly believe that. Even when they're like 3 White Claws in, that's truth serum, right? Yeah, they don't. And why is it so intense? Why is that emotion so intense? Because that's the existential fear. You're taking away their choice. You're taking away their power, their agency. Their only agency is sex. And that sex, their desirability, their sexiness, whatever it is, that the thing that makes them desirable is their sexual agency. And as that declines and as that depreciates, it gets more and more and more urgent. That's why you get the epiphany phase at 29 to 31 years old. But if you tell a woman, you say, you know, and in no uncertain terms, this is exactly what Fresh has done, what Myron's done, what Kevin Samuel's done, what I have done, definitely what Aaron Clary has done, certainly what Rich Cooper has done. Everybody that I know on Rule Zero pretty much has said some variation of this, has put it, the stats, has taken those Newsweek stats, put it in women's face. And remember, those stats are from the 80s. We're not talking about what's going on right now. Women, this is the end result. These are statistics. This is where we're going, ladies. It's almost like guys say, okay, we're going to let the ladies drive the car for a little while. In society, you know, gynocentrics is social order. We're going to let you drive that societal car for a little while, but we're going to hold the map and we're going to go, oh man, if we keep on this course, we're going to fall off you're going to drive right off the cliff. Look, honey. And she gets mad at you for showing her that she's going to drive off the cliff because driving is all she wants to do. Because the longer she stays in the car, the more control she has over it. That's why a gynocentric social order says, don't worry, you're sexy at any age. Because that urgency, that paranoia, that desire for you got to continue. We got to keep it going. I haven't found the right guy yet. I got to freeze my eggs. Well, did you really do that? Or is it because did you freeze your eggs because of your profession, because you want to focus on your business, or did you do that because you can't find the right guy? Because it's my profession. Like, that's the right answer. The real answer is you haven't found a guy, and no guy wants you by the time you get to that point, because you're unmarriageable, you're undateable, there's no value added beyond your sexual agency, because that's what you're commodifying from the time you're apparently 13 for the girl who was taking pictures of mom who was 40. That girl just learned that her sexual agency is what is going to get her that kind of paycheck. Mom's 40-year-old well, if my 40-year-old mother can do this, by the time I'm 19, I'm going to be a billionaire on OnlyFans. Because look at me. And if they don't, then they should. Because I do what I want, you know. And so you just taught that 13-year-old girl the lesson that the 40-year-old woman says, well, you know, I have the right to show my body off and feel comfortable about it. 13-year-old girl, not even Gen Z, like whatever generation comes after Z. She's going to be the 19 in 6 years. She's going to be the 19-year-old girl that goes on Fresh and Fit and says exactly the same thing, makes exactly the same mistakes, uses exactly the same language. That's what that 13-year-old girl is going to be. So yeah. So how do we teach that? How do we teach the future? We disincentivize it. That's what you do. You take it away. You have to, guys, should we have OnlyFans? Should we be able to commodify it? Should we make it so easy that prostitution has become normal? Well, like, who cares about legalizing prostitution at this point? Because it's pretty much, by order of degree, it's pretty much legal right now. The only thing that's not legal is the regulation on it. Somebody said, if like OnlyFans, I'm sure OnlyFans takes a lot of money off the top. You know, if you're making a lot of money, the super chats you're just giving me right now, guess who gets 30% of that? YouTube. So they're facilitating a platform, and hey, I'm glad to have them. But let's be honest, if it wasn't something that people could make some money off of, there's probably a lot of men involved in facilitating the platform that is OnlyFans. Are you going to tell those guys, hey, you're going to ruin society. You're going to ruin society with OnlyFans. I'd like you to give up your multi-billion-dollar business for the betterment of society. Is that what? Because if that's the goal, if that's where we're headed, I'd like to know what your plans are to get to that point. Please tell me, because I'm all out of clues. I'm all out of ideas for that. So it's a generational thing. Yeah. Do we need to I'm getting to the point right now where I think we're going to have to we're going to have to zero out gynocentric society. And whether that's like a natural disaster or war, which is probably the most likely thing, or it's a meteor falling and everybody, we have to press the restart button in some way. But even if we did, even if we press the restart button with natural catastrophe or warfare or whatever, tyranny, whatever you want to call it, you're still going to have, human beings are still going to be human beings. And women are going to still be women and men are still going to be men. You know, you can talk about the Illuminati and the evil, you know, the Jewish plot against the world and you know, fiat current. None of that works unless men are men and women are women, unless our natures are what they are. You know, well, it's greed and this is power. Okay, well, the only reason that even exists in your head as a concept is because men are men and women are women. That's why. It doesn't work if the machine does. If the machine was different, there might be a different outcome. There might be a different incentive for that. So you can go on any other podcast, not on this podcast, but you can go on any other podcast and you know, yell till you're blue in the face about the Illuminati, whoever that ends up being for you. But you know what? The people who make up the satanic cabal, who's, you know, wants to take over the world, that's still men and women, or, you know, whatever. I mean, the machine is the machine. So when we address those things and we understand that nature, we can better formulate solutions. We can better formulate, solutions to those problems. That's why I do what I do. You know, I want to see you guys get laid. Sure. I want to see you guys I hope you live a good, long, successful, you know, happy life. I hope you do. I want that for you guys. I want that for everybody. Right. I'm just a messenger, man. I just work here, but it is what it is. You have to, and I hate to use that term, but you have to understand the mechanics before you can solve a problem. We have to disincentivize that. And you're not going to, you want to disincentivize it, it's got to be a generational thing. And I don't think you do that when everybody has an incentive to be out for their own skin, right? What else you got? Don DeMarco. Oh, okay. You didn't even give me Don DeMarco. You know, how come Red Pill Mike only gives like $500 super? I'm not asking. I'm not begging, but $500? Yeah. Thank you for that $100 though. There you go. Don DeMarco. I have that in another bank. That's why I never use that. I got to put that up to the front bank. You like that? I like my. You know, I don't even know who that is, to be honest with you. Yeah, whatever. Let's see. Who else is here? Let's back up a little bit. What else do I got here? All right. The last thing I wanted to do here, I wanted to throw this out here just so I give you something to think about as we're getting towards the end, is dating is now dating. What is date? Who dates? Does anybody date anymore? Do you go on a date? Have you been on a date? Anybody been on a date lately? Hey, let's go on a date. Nobody. And if you did you meet her? Like, how many guys have done that? Like, how rare is this that you meet a girl, school, you meet a girl in a social engagement, you meet a girl somewhere and you say, hey, I'm going to go get coffee. And then that leads to you being intimate, like maybe not immediately, like, yeah, dating equals banging. And that's something like Lycus has talked about for a long time. What'd you say? Solution to zeroing out the gynos is for men to take back control of spending. Easier said than done, but the first step is to stop simping. Yeah, well, the problem with this is, Andy, is you can do that. Okay, I'm not saying that. That's not a valid point, valid concern. What if you could do this? What if you could say, okay, you know what, guys? How many generations of like convincing guys not to simp would turn the ship around? Because I could say, okay, well, look, hopefully I do this, right? I say, okay, guys, stop simping. And I'll be the first one to ridicule you and give you shit for being a simp, right? And of course, there's an army of women who will come on. Like remember the girl who was talking. I did the short video clip of her. She was like that's crazy, but she kind of had the big wild eyes, and she's in the workout outfit and talking about how hard it is for women to date and how easy it is for men to date. She did another video about the word simp and how it's terrible. We need to stop calling it simping, and it's really hurtful and bullying and da 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 da. And it's like, and I don't know if that was part of it, but there was like a series it was trendy for a while to do TikTok videos or whatever videos and criticize the word simp. Like, we need to stop using simp. Simp is horrible, blah, 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 blah. Guys didn't come up with simp. It's girls that came up with this. Girls on OnlyFans. That's what they call them. That's what the guys call themselves. That's what other dudes call them. It's not that it's a bad derogatory. Maybe it is. It should be. You know, there are words that should be derogatory. There are words that should be insults. Prostitute is one of them. Sex worker is the euphemism to cover that shit up. But simp is one of them. We need those. Shame works. It does. Sorry, that's how it works. We're human beings. Shame actually works. And shame never works. We should be shaming people. Well, we shouldn't be shaming women, right? We'll shame men. We'll say, who hurt you? We'll shame. Oh, you're an incel. That we can use that term, but we can't use simp. You know why you can't use simp? But you know why they want to sort of demystify and undemonize simp? Because that's the term that's used for guys who are paying women's bills. A 40-year-old woman on Instagram is 13-year-old girl is taking pictures of her. That's why they don't. Oh, we shouldn't call them simps. Let's call them something nice. Pay pig, schmuck. How about that? Can we call him schmuck? What would you prefer? Because it's the same shit. Sex worker, not prostitute. Okay, well, let's go with that. Good idea. Yeah, so stop simping. Okay, well, here's the thing. What if I could do this? Andy, what if I said this? Let's say, okay, I have a magic wand. Ooh, I'm gonna wave the magic wand over my camera, over the computer, and I make all the simps in Generation Z disappear. Gone. Great. Is that going to change things? Maybe it does. Maybe a little bit does. A few women lose their, there's still there's millennials, there's Gen X, there's some other generations, but like that one generation says, no, we're not going to simp anymore. Great. Well, guess what? The 13-year-old girl who's taking pictures of a 40-year-old mom on OnlyFans, her generation, there's going to be a lot more simps. Because every time you get rid of one, 3 more, it's like Hydra, right? You cut off the head and 4 more pop up. Simpra or Simpra, whatever you want to call it, cut off one head on the simp and then 4 more, pop out. That's the nature of it, because men are men and women are women. You can teach guys not to simp, sure. But we have such a facility. You can teach people not to go to Taco Bell. You could teach people not to eat Twinkies. You can teach people you could teach generation after generation, but you still want to. The desire's still there. I still want to have a freaking burrito supreme. Now it sounds pretty good. I shouldn't. People shouldn't eat. That's why you're obese. That's why, 70% of the U.S. population is overweight or morbidly obese, because our brains were wired back in our ancestral past to prefer certain kinds of food, and now it's plentiful. Well, guess what else is plentiful? 40-year-old mom, on OnlyFans. That's plentiful right now. So you give that plenty to everybody. You're not going to be able to. There's nothing you can do. There's absolutely nothing you can do, because the desire is still there. So remove it from 100 people, and it's going to manifest in 200 more, because it's right there. It's open. If you don't want it, I do. I'll take the leftovers. That sounds good to me. Cocoa Puff. Do you think it's predatory that 30-year-old men message 18-year-old online women on apps just as much as they message women their own age? Where are you getting these stats, first off? I want to know. Do you think it's predatory that 30-year-old men message 18-year-old online women on apps just as much as they message women their own age? I would say, do they? Do 30 the 18-year-old, I believe you. But do 30-year-old men, do they actually approach? Would you say 18-year-old men online message? Okay, do they actually message women their own age? Because I don't think they do. Because and I'll tell you why. Because how many 18-year-olds do you know that are on like a dating app? How many? And by comparison, how many 30-year-old guys do you know who are on? Like, what's the stats? Like, what's the volume? What's the frequency of this? So do I think it's predatory? First of all, I don't think that, I think the opposite of this, actually. I think that 30-year-old guys are going to probably message 18-year-old women a whole lot more than they are 30-year-old women. Simply because human nature, but because, again, men rate women who are 23 years old as the most attractive across the board, 15 to 90. So if they have a preference, or if they have, let's say, if they have a choice, are they going to go for the younger, hotter, tighter, or are they going to go for the girl? Are they going to message the girl who is between 29 and 31 years old? Is it predatory? I don't think it's predatory at all. Why would it be? A 30-year, she's 18. She's an adult, right? According to the rules, that's just fine. Now, let me ask you this. What if I told you this? What if a 40-year-old man messaged a 28-year-old girl? That's a decade difference. That's all you're talking about is 10 years there. Is that more acceptable than a 30-year-old getting with an 18-year-old who is technically, by all laws in the country, she's an adult? Is that more acceptable? What about a 50-year-old who messages a 38-year-old woman? Same difference. So what's the difference? Because according to the way that we think, the 18-year-old is an adult and she should be just as mature as a 28-year-old or a 38-year-old. So what's the difference? She can make her own decisions, right? We live in a gynocentric social order. She's the one who gets to decide. Who cares? Is it predatory? Predatory for what? What's the end result of the predation? Having sex with her? Starting a life with her? What if a 30-year-old guy just falls in love with the 18-year-old and she's just hot and she's a piece of ass? What was it? Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry Seinfeld married a chick who was like 18, right? Something like that. And Jerry was certainly in his 30s when he got with the girl that she's still his wife right now. People thought that was horrible. What about Keanu Reeves? Keanu Reeves is my age. I think he's 53. And his girlfriend, his main, I guess, or his girlfriend is like, she's 46. That's a 3, 4, that's a 7-year difference. Is that, what if he was 33 and she was 24, 25? Would that be okay? Like, what's the mark? What makes it predation and what makes it not predation? I don't think it's necessarily the age difference. I think it's more what are the intents behind it. So. Good question, though. Good question. These are good today. You guys are hitting me good. Okay, what the hell? I guess I'm done with did I get everything? Oh, I put in here, I didn't get to this, but I put in this something about the male gaze. You guys probably don't even know what the male gaze is. It's actually a book. It was back in the 70s. The male gaze was like, women were really upset that guys would look at a girl or look at parts of women. And I don't think, I actually had this in here. I had this article already queued up. Men's brains, brain sees men as whole and women as parts. And they've done these I think they're fMRI studies, or they've done neurological studies. Go away, dude. Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, you already took care of him. sorry, Sam. You already took care of that idiot. Thank you. They've done studies. I forget who is this. Where did I get this from? This is from livescience.com. Essentially, it's I'll put it up if you guys want me to put it in the description. I will. But essentially, it says, I don't want to go. It's a little late to go through the whole thing, but essentially, it says this is that when women see men, they tend to look at them as wholes, whereas men tend to look at women as parts. Because when men see a half-naked woman, they see her in a series of parts before they look at the whole. And that is the basis of sexual objectification, right? She's a sexual object. And it's true. Men do that. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's the way we evolved, right? That's the same. What happens is when a man sees a half-naked woman on the cover of Sports Illustrated, right? It triggers the part of our brains that is associated with tool use. And this is me spitballing here, but the reason why I think that that's the case is because our brains are trying to solve a problem. That's what I need a tool. What's my tool? How do I figure this out? Is she acceptable? When men look at women, ladies, maybe you didn't know this about men, but when men look at you, they can evaluate you. They can sum you up as being sexually as being a sexual partner, fitness, right? They look at you, sexual fitness in a split second, and then sexual availability. Those are the two things that men look for immediately. And it is so fast. It is subconscious. It is part of our evolved mental firmware. And we do it in a split second. We can say, yeah, I want to hit that. No, I don't want to hit that. There's no possibility of me hitting that, or there is a great big possibility of me hitting that. So there you go. And you can go away too. Keep it up. I'll just keep blocking you. The male gaze. Okay, I talked about that. All right, that's fine. Let me move back a little bit here because I missed a few. Clarence, thank you very much for that. Clarence says, Rational Male saved my life. Rollo almost self-deleted. Thank you for everything. You are welcome, my friend. Thank you for staying with us. Thanks for staying in the game. And sooner or later, I will figure out exactly how to make this thing stay put. I'm thinking about going back to my old one now. Okay, so that was Clarence. I'm going to back up just a little bit. Sam, thanks for staying on top of this for me. J-Pot, I got to you. Pay my respects. I got to Dr. Thunder. Clarence, thank you. Turning 37. Samurai Flack, I did get to you. Dragoon, I got to you. Dave Franco, got to you. Gurgly Molnar. What a great name. Hi, Rollo. I'm still a bit skeptical. Okay. As I started focusing on myself and be non-accepting of bad female behavior, what I receive isn't more attraction, but being perceived as an enemy. Yeah. Okay. Now let me explain to you why that is. Because what you're doing, most guys, when they experience this, we usually call these guys gammas, right? These are the guys who try to explain everything. These are the guys who make spreadsheets. And I'm not saying this is necessarily you, but when guys, and the fact that I'm skeptical of this, but okay, what happens is when you are like you have an analytic, if I'm guessing here, when you have an analytical mind, you end up trying to apply that knowledge in such a way that you think that other people with analytical minds will understand it. I know I do the same thing myself. I get into trouble. I got into the same kind of trouble that you did on Fresh and Fit a few times. When the first time when I was there with Hotep Jesus. Hotep Jesus is kind of like, his delivery is more emotional. Like he understands women on an emotional level, and I do too. But I'm not there to try to get in these girls' pants. I'm not saying that Hotep was, but I'm just saying if you want to get laid, don't appeal to reason. I think it was Ryan. Right? Was it Ryan Stone? Ryan Stone said this one time. He says you can either understand women or you can love women, but you can't do both. And certainly not both at the same time, anyways. And I kind of understand what he was saying, because when I was on Fresh and Fit, I think a lot of people thought I was like an egghead, like, oh, he has all these stats and then he understands this stuff and and it sounds very antiseptic and it sounds very scientific and it sounds like that doesn't get panties wet, dude. Your brain, your intelligence is not an arousal cue for women. Don't ever think that because your IQ is 150 that's going to turn women on. If anything, that's a deficit. In fact, go read Aaron Clary's book, The Curse of High IQ. He goes into great detail about how the higher your IQ, it becomes a handicap in social situations, because you tend to focus on sort of the intellect rather than like the social intelligence. And so it's the very rare individual who can understand society and then still be sort of like a great thinker, right? So when you focus on yourself, that's fine. And you not accepting women's bad behavior, that's also good too. But when you're looking at, and you're saying, what I receive isn't more attraction, they think you view as the enemy. Usually when women think of you as the enemy, it's because you have done something to sort of break their comfortable little cocoon of usually an emotional cocoon. When I go and I hold up a mirror, I always hold up a mirror. If I go on a show and I lay the facts out, or Myron throws out stats all the time, and you can like watch this the next time. I don't know if you guys watch Fresh and Fit, whatever. If you don't, that's fine. I don't care. But if you're in a similar situation, I call this the point of diminishing returns, but you will see that once a particular stat is, or a reality, an empirical, objective truth is presented to a woman who is invested, her personality is invested in it, her future hopes and dreams are invested in that emotional belief, and your empirical proof or your empirical data destroys that, that's when women lash out. That's when it's, who hurt you? That's when it's, I'll bet that, whatever shame works, whatever convenient shame happens to be there. You're an incel. You have a little dick. That's little dick energy, right? Whenever women default to that, you've hit the point of diminishing returns, but you've also hit the point where what you've just said destroyed her emotional high or her emotional hopes and dreams that were focusing on that. She's playing by a rule set that nobody else is, like, reality is not really playing by, but she wants to force fit that rule set force fit reality to play by that rule set. And when you go on there and you say, by the time you're 34, if you haven't got married, you're probably not going to get married. Or what do you bring to the table? What value do you add? Are you only about your sexual agency, or are you about something else? Even just asking those questions is enough to appeal to reason. And that's where everything just comes crashing down. And women don't default to more reason to give you a counter argument. They default to emotion. And that emotion is, how are you? You're an incel, little dick energy. Anything that works. And all her girlfriends in the back going, she's right. And because they're put on the spot as well. On Wednesday's show, I'm going to do a show about what happens, or what the real socio-sexual relationship is when a woman says, who hurt you? And I know Donovan Sharp did something about this, and I wanted to make it clear. This is not a bust on him, but he and Myron make the same mistake a lot when it comes to that kind of stuff. They think that the girls actually cares about who hurt them. They don't. That's just the standard default to diffuse an uncomfortable truth that they don't have a counter for. So what do? They distract and they get you on another topic, which is, who hurt you? And if you are stupid, and if you don't see this for the tactic that it is, then you'll get focused on trying to defend yourself from the idea that, well, it doesn't matter if I have somebody who hurt me in the past. It's still, you're focusing on what her question was and not the real intent of it, which is to dissuade you from presenting more reason and more rationality and more data and more empiricism that breaks up those hopes and dreams that are based on that emotional hope or the emotional reality that is just bullshit. So, when women see you as the enemy, it's usually because either they feel threatened or you have destroyed some sort of personal ego investment that they had that they don't have any comeback to. Most of the girls on Fresh and Fit don't have any comeback. Very rarely. I don't think I've ever heard them. Holdrick Franconian says, Doge did not well. Doge did not well. Dogecoin? Bought your book. Bought your book along with 12 Rules for Life. Looking forward to reading it. Enjoyed your chat in Fresh and Fit. Red Hayor, right? I don't know what that means. Sir Mr. Jason asked me once again, thank you. Said once again, thank you for everything. You are the truth. So what is the evolution? What is the evolution? What is the evolution? What is the next step for marriage? Well, funny you should ask, Sir Mr. Jason, because I talk about that in book 4, this one. Go pick it up. There's a big hefty chapter on marriage in there and what my take is on marriage. If you have read this book, you should in no way ever accuse me of being like anti-marriage or pro-marriage. You will understand what my position is if you read this. It's not so simple, right? So anyways, I would say, so what's the future for marriage? I hope that we can get back to a complementary marriage. And I mean that in the conventional sense, not in the evangelical Christian way of, well, God made us both complements. Okay, maybe, but so did evolution and biology and a lot of other things made us complements, and we are better together than we are apart. We need to find some way where we can both appreciate that complementarity. And we're never going to do that if we still insist on social convention or social constructionism and the blank slate, and as well as a romantic ideal, as well as making that romantic ideal our God. That's the highest authority, by the way. And that's one of the things I talk about in book 4 is we have effectively made love and romance higher than God, because we've essentially given authority and control over to women, where men, on a global sense, on a meta scale, men have all the responsibility and women have 100% authority. Okay, what do they do with that authority? They turn their needs, the feminine imperative, their romantic ideal, they turn anything that works for women into a god. That's the thing that has to be, and I don't mean that in the literal sense. I mean that in the sense that it's the highest thing we ought to be thinking about. So that's how you get romance or love. It's all about love, right? Oh, it's about love. It's about healing. It's not about reality. It's about what feels good. Feels before reals is making emotion God. Men don't do that. Women do. Women make emotion their God, their goddess. And I talk about that in the book, The Goddess Movement. So we have to get away from that first and foremost. I think we can certainly turn the ship around, but you're not going to do that unless it becomes real for women. And it can't become real for them because we're making too much money off of the idea that we can perpetuate, or that women can perpetuate their sexual agency indefinitely. Like I said, imperishable, the evergreen desirability. That you want to know where we can start? Destroy that. Say, ladies, and we're doing that. Like Kevin Samuel's certainly doing that. He's doing it the way he does it, but it's not necessarily holding women accountable so much as these are the consequences. And he's not trying to save and Fresh and Fit, myself, Kevin, they're not trying to save the girl. They're trying to save the generation that comes after that girl, after that girl. They're not trying to save the 40-year-old woman on OnlyFans by dressing her down and saying, you're everything that's wrong in this world, 40-year-old mom. They're not trying to save her, because that's a lost cause. They're trying to save the 13-year-old girl who sees this and goes, oh my God, look what happened to mom because she was on OnlyFans. Oh, she has a right. You want to know where that comes from? Like, she has a right to show her body off. That's perpetuating sexual agency for a woman who in no way should be doing that. Can you imagine going back just even 100 years and saying, oh, this 40-year-old woman should be able to take off her clothes. She has a right to show her body off. Well, that was because we lived in a patriarchal society and you guys were repressing women. No, they understood the mechanics of how women work. She's an old maid, and by 1921, she, a 40-year-old woman, she was done. They would call her a whore, not a sex worker. And that her 13-year-old daughter, 1920, 21, right? Or maybe the 19 teens. Why is that any different? Why do we think they were more backwards than we are now? I mean, from a social standpoint. So when we dress down a woman who is 31 years old, it's not because anybody thinks that, oh, she'll learn her lesson, she'll change her ways, and we'll have a better society as a result of that. No, they're not going to do that. Why would they? They think you're an idiot. They think you're a misogynist fuckwit. But maybe the girl who's 19 or 20 who's watching this and says, ooh, that's going to be me in 10 years. Maybe she's not going to change her ways, but she's going to do something different so she can at least accommodate, or hopefully the smart ones anyways will do that. And enough guys do that. Enough guys hold them responsible then. Enough guys that make it real for women. Then maybe you change something for the next generation, not for this one. This generation's lost. That's why when they say, well, how can a masculine woman become more feminine? You can't. You're done. You're already, it's already like baked in. It's already imprinted in your brain stem. I can't tell you that, because anything I would say, if I said, okay, here's what you have to do to be more feminine, unless she wants to organically, like the fact that I need to tell a woman what to do to be more feminine, that destroys the whole thing. Because she's the one who has to go and figure it out for herself. How can I be more feminine? I have a genuine desire. If I'm a woman and I'm masculine or whatever, and I have a genuine desire to change and be something different, that has to come from her, not from me, not from anybody outside. It has to come from that woman having a genuine desire to actually want to change. Observing a process changes the process. If I go and I say, here's a list of 10 things you can do to be more feminine. If I go in and do that, I've written essays for women. Here's things to think about. I regretted doing that because I'm not the one that should be doing that. I don't want to get with a girl who said, oh, I read this great book and now I've changed my ways because of that book and I want to be this. That seems contrived. That seems like it came from somewhere. It came from outside her. She has to be the one to do that. I don't even want to have that story. I don't even want to have her tell me that. I want her to go. I want her to, when I date her, if I'm with that girl, I want her to be who she is. Feminine. Good. Okay. I appreciate that. You're going to be rewarded with my attention and my commitment and my money and my sex and my involvement and my, everything that is me. If all you fall in love with is what I am, then what I am is attracted to what you are. It's not who you are. It's not he's got a kind soul. Well, the way you find that out is what I am. What she is. Is she feminine? She's a feminine soul. Well, I find that out by the way that she lives and the way that she acts. And the only reason she does that is because she has a genuine, organic, internal, innate, intrinsic desire to do that. How do I become more feminine? Well, the first thing is you don't ask other guys how to be more feminine. You do that yourself. You figure it out because you have a genuine desire. Not to go take a class, right? Go do that yourself. Start changing. The change comes from within. Yeah, well, it does organically, anyways. So I cannot stress enough the observing a process changes the process. It's the observer effect. And I do this myself. By the way, now that we're at the end of the show here, we're the band I'm in, Trial of Ascension, which you can find on Spotify in the link below. We're recording another 4-song EP right now. And I've learned this. This is the observer effect. I can go into the studio and I can jam with my very good friends, my compatriots, my musician soulmates, right? I can jam with them and be just dead nuts perfect on everything that I do. As soon as the damn red light comes on, the recording light comes on, as soon as I'm observed, I'm recorded. like I never played the goddamn song before in my life, right? Or like parts of it, I know that I'm like, I'll overthink it, right? Because I know I'm being observed. And not, just playing for the guys, right? But it's the red light. And it's not just the guys. It's everybody who's going to hear this recording in the future. And that's in my head, right? That's the observer effect. I want a girl who can play the songs as naturally, just natural, like playing songs and creating the songs and playing them in front of people, as opposed to having the red light on. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but it's the process. Observing the process changes the process. The observer effect. People will give you different answers when they think they're being observed, and women will do. That's why when I look at this stuff, like I watch these shows, and it's like, well, you ask the same questions over and over. What do you want in a guy? Looks, money, status. Well, of course. What's the right answer? Well, he's got to have a good heart, right? I guess money, right? I got to look out for, like, they'll give you what they think is the right answer. And then yet you'll go down half an hour later, they'll be on the street or they'll be in a club with a guy and they'll be with the hottest dude that they can get with. The guy that they're calling out, the rappers are, have them in line outside their room. Again, the medium is the message. Watch the behavior. Don't believe the words, and it's not that they're bad people. It's not that it's disingenuous per se. It's just that the medium is the message. When you're observed, you're going to say things differently. We don't even know that you're doing it. So, Sir Mr. Jason, that was you. David Franco, do you think getting rid of the feminist propaganda? I got to you. Dark Sin Man, or Dark Skin Man. I thought it's sin. My bad. Sounds even eviler that way. Dark Skin Man, 740. Do you think corporate America will screen people for OnlyFans? They already are. If so, a lot of ladies are going to lose access to corporate jobs. I don't think so. And this was actually one of my bullet points that I did not get to. I don't think so. I've done shows in the past where I talk about how women will not be able to escape their digital footprint. So when a guy looks you up, ladies, on Instagram, and she sees that you've been with, the latest rap guy on the yacht somewhere, or been with some celebrity, or you're been with your boyfriend before him was like smoking hot and it didn't work out, and he sees that. That's your digital footprint. But you're going to say, oh, well, he needs to be as secure in his masculinity. Da, 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 da. Well, he's secure enough to say, I don't want to get involved with that shit. So yeah, you might lose the quote unquote boyfriend job because of your sexual past, or because of even just the impression, just the pictures of your sexual past. Doesn't even have to be your number. One of the reasons why women want to find some way to undemonize, I guess, angelize, right? They want to downplay the importance of their sexual past is because they know it's inescapable. It will be, especially this generation and hell, even my generation. The pictures that are the pictures of you being drunk on the floor in Denny's, whatever, those don't go away. The internet doesn't forget. People forget. People have very short memories, but the internet does not forget. And again, a conversation I've had 1,000 times is like guys will say, or like on Fresh and Fit, like they'll say, well, the first thing that a guy does or a woman does is when she meets you, you don't get digits, you don't get phone numbers anymore. You get follow me on Instagram. That's what it is. That's brand management. Dating is no longer dating. It's brand management. It's publicity. You need a PR person for your personal life now. I'm just a fucking guy to do it. Yeah, hit me up, ladies. I'll make you look great. I'll make sure you get what you want out of those guys. I'll be happy to take your money. I'll be happy to take your OnlyFans money so you can find the guy of your dreams, ladies. I'm right here. Counseling, clear the books, ladies. You want me to come and help you with your brand management for your personal life? I'm right here for you. Bring it on. But that's what it is. It's brand management. And so what's the first thing you do? You look up their Instagram and you say, is he cool enough for me to hang out with? Guys do it. Girls do it. Whatever. Corporate America is going to do it too. The problem is this, dark-skinned man, is we're trying. The reason why we call it sex workers and not prostitution is because that de-emphasizes the evilness of prostitution. So you put on your resume, I was a secretary, then I was a medical transcriptionist, and then I was a sex worker, and then I was a file clerk, or then I got married. That sounds a whole lot better than I was an online prostitute, and then I was a file clerk. Sounds a whole lot better, doesn't it? And when we tell guys that you're insecure in your masculinity, or there's something wrong with you, or you should be ashamed for asking women about their sexual past because it's none of your business and it shouldn't matter anyways, and people are people and blah, 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 blah. You know what that is? That's that's women's attempt, a gynocentric social order's attempt to cover the tracks, right? We don't call it, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter to men that a woman has had 20 sexual partners by the time she's 19 years old. And that's exactly, 15 sexual partners by the time that girl got to be 19. I think that was on the second time I was out there in Fresh. I was talking to the 19-year-old girl, like fake tits, hair, eye makeup done, a little bedazzled thing going on, and it had a little bit of collagen going on. I'm like, how old is this chick? The girl's younger than my daughter. I was like, and you're in the game right now. And she was saying, and she was like, so what's your body count? That's another question that's always asked. And she says like 15. I've had 15 guys. And when did you start having sex? 16 years old. So from the time she was 16 to the time she was 19, 15 guys. 15 guys. And probably has a body count that will exceed most guys for the rest of their lives. Now, if that is, and we have talked about this before, if that is important, if that has a longer lasting, lifelong consequences, like she's more prone to divorce, she's more prone to an unhappy marriage, she doesn't get the guy of her dreams, she gets to be 29 to 30, she's 19 now, but she's 10 years later, now she's in the epiphany phase, and now she's got to find the right guy, and she can't because she's still an alpha widow from 4 other guys, from the 50 or some odd guys that she's had sex with from the time she was 16 to where she's at right now. And she's dissatisfied, and now suddenly you got a gynocentric social order that says, don't worry, girl, you look great and at any size and at any weight and at any age, blah, blah, blah. She's contending with that, and she's thinking about all that at that time. Wouldn't it be great if you could just say, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that you had 50. Doesn't matter that you did these things. Doesn't matter that you have an OnlyFans. That shouldn't matter. Guys should be mature enough to if the right guy for you is going to be okay with that. And then she wonders why she gets with those guys, and they turn out to be beta chumps. They're the guys that don't hold her accountable. They're guys that don't hold her feet to the fire. Those are the guys she wants to get with because they got balls. They're thinking about themselves. They're on point. They're on their own mission. They don't have anything to do with her. But all they have to do is go look on Instagram and say, oh, look at all this shit that you've been doing. Now, is he insecure? Well, if we can teach a generation of guys that they're bad for having concerns, paternity concerns about a woman's sexual past, if we can convince them that, then it shouldn't matter. Then it all goes away, girls, and it's all gone. Don't worry. We'll retcon who you were before with who you are now. And we'll do it with social conventions that tell men it shouldn't matter. We'll also do the same thing with corporate America. So if she's got an OnlyFans account, if she's been into like amateur porn, if she's got whatever it is, and they'll probably be in the future, there'll probably be something even worse and more degenerate. And you know what? We'll go back and cover all that up, or we'll try to retcon all of that as well. So in a gynocentric social order, in a gynocentric corporate America, that won't make any difference. In fact, if that company tries to make a big deal out of it, that'll be a discrimination lawsuit. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. How dare you not accept me for this job because I had an OnlyFans? I was a sex worker. We should have respect for a sex worker. And that's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to normalize it by calling it sex work. That's why. Gold Minx, thank you, Rollo. You honestly have changed my life. What are your thoughts on men who want to have kids in the future? Is purple pill the end of the game? No. Purple, God, do I have to explain purple pill one more time? No. A purple pill is not, the red pill is the end of the game, okay? What if I want to have kids? Well, guess what? Then you got to be a red pill parent. That's what you've got to do. And you've got to figure out how you want to accommodate that. Do you want to get married? No? Okay, well then fine. Then you're going to have something kind of like what Aaron Clary has, right? You've got to have somebody that's, that you don't have to be, you can be exclusive with, but you don't have a contract with. Maybe you have a covenant marriage. Maybe you have something like Abu American, right? Like there's no contract, there's no state involved, but the religion is involved. Do you find those women? You'll find those women according to your own faith, right? You got 3 or 4 wives. They're not necessarily on the books, but they consider themselves his wife, and he considers them, they consider themselves their wives, and he considers them himself their husbands. Okay, now what? If that's the case, that's the way it used to be. Go back to a social, like a religious ceremony, and that's all that it took. Shit, I mean, Scottish Highlands, all you had to do was get hand fasted in front of like a priest and a few of your closest friends. There's no contract involved. We're married. Okay, good. Thanks. We're going to have babies now. And then as far as purple pill is concerned, remember, purple pill is a clinging to the security blanket that is the blue pill after you understand the truth of the red pill. That's how the purple pill works. It's not an insult. It's just a position. It's just a classification. It's the guys who are blue pill, who became red pill, who couldn't handle going across the abyss, so they think that they can use the knowledge and the shit that they got from the red pill and get the white picket fence and the good girl and the golden retriever and the 2.5 kids and the station wagon, right? That's with red pill awareness. That's what they think they can get, instead of going and saying, you know what, all those blue pill ideals were based on bullshit and lies. And the good news is I have more opportunity in a red pill paradigm than I did in a blue pill paradigm. It's like Cypher. Purple pill guys are Cypher being plugged back into the matrix. That's as simple as I can make it. Gold Minx, thank you very much. Holdrick, I talked to you. Doge did me well. What, Dogecoin? I need a laugh today. Oh, Irish Alpha. I needed a laugh today, so I looked at the comments on body positivity IG models. Only 30% simps. The rest, other fat chicks giving the go girls. Yeah. Warrior Race, I already talked to you. You went to the front of the class already. Clarence, I got to you. Secretariat. Today's unflattering statistics encourage future women to change behavior. No, well, I got to that. Arnold Cash gave me $2. Feminine governments will be just like Thatcher. No, they won't. Margaret Thatcher was from a completely different era, raised in a completely different time, according to completely different ways. I know what you're saying, though. Oh, well, we're all going to go to war. No. Guess what? It's much worse. It's much worse than that. I've been hearing a lot of people saying that, well, if we have women in government, then women start more wars than men do. Look at Margaret Thatcher. She went to the Falkland Islands. Dude, no, it's much, much worse. It's much, much worse than, we're going to be like Margaret Thatcher. No, no, it gets worse. Well, actually, women control, at least in Margaret Thatcher's time, women did not control the World Bank. They did not control the financial. They didn't control the Fed. They didn't control financial institutions like they do now. As I said, much worse. Hold on to your horses because it's going to be a rough ride. Logan Shaw, thank you very much for the great show. Mark Orwin gave me a sticker, I think, and Chris B in Philly gave me a sticker as well. Coco Puff, what did you say? Do you think older men? Oh, I got to that one. Oh, wait a minute. No, I didn't. Do you think older men, 35 plus, can get women in their early 20s? Yes. With burning desire rather than women looking for the beta bucks? Yes. That's the first thing I tell guys too. It's like, I've answered this question several times. Guys say, well, I'm 36 and I want to settle down. I'm looking for a good quality woman to have a baby with and wife and everything. But Rollo, I don't want to get with a girl who's like 18 and fickle and stupid. And I don't want to get with a girl who's in the epiphany phase, who's already used up and is an alpha widow. What do I do? And so what I say is look for girls who are like, you're 35. Maybe. Is that what you said? 35. 35 years old. You're looking for something that's a little more permanent. Look for a girl who's about 26, 27 prior to the epiphany phase, but out of the sort of cycling herself out of maybe the hoe phase or the party phase. Look for that girl, because if you find a girl who is smart, like has at least some kind of like maybe smart's not the word, has some insight, has better insight than most girls, it keeps herself in shape, looks good, is feminine, is, if she looks, look for the girls. If you're looking for an ideal girl, the girl who in some way could be ideal, according to whatever your ideal is, look for girls 25, 26, 27 years old. 28, that's when you get the Tommy Lahrens, and they get a little bit like, they hold on to the safety rails, oh my God, I'm going to hit the epiphany phase. That's when you get Tommy Lahren. But right before that, they're just on that side of it. I mean, unless you're looking, don't get the girl who's had, 50 guys before them, but it's like, look for the girl who, and be realistic about it. Because you have to, if you're going to, especially if you have like a muse mastery, it's better if you actually have the mastery to be amused with. So if you're 35 years old and you're getting with a girl who's 26 or 27, that might be the sweet spot, I think, for guys, at least in Western societies. Again, she's still in good shape. She still has the insight at least to say, you know what, the party's going to be over pretty soon. It's not quite over. I'm not in my epiphany phase just yet, but I'm open to looking for a guy who's already hitting his stride. When I did the show on sexual market value, I had this quote. It was from Aristotle. Aristotle said the perfect age for men and women to marry is men at 36 or 37 and women at 18. Now, that was back in Aristotle's time. I think maybe might want to say 36 for the guy and maybe 26 or 25 for the girl, right around there. Now, if you can get a girl who's like 22, 23 at that age, great. But again, women understand that that's their peak years for their agency, and you're not going to tell them shit. If you got a girl who's making all kinds of money off of OnlyFans, or in some way, and it doesn't have to be OnlyFans, in some way is being rewarded for her sexual agency all the time at 20, 22, 23, whatever, the odds are you're probably not going to find a girl with insight, because she's too preoccupied with she's drunk on power, right? She's drunk on why the party's never going to end. Who cares? Like all the girls who are in their early 20s that I'm seeing right now, at least on these shows, is they don't care. They don't care about it. You're not going to find girls who are thinking long-term at 20, 22. Very rarely. Look for the girls who's 26. That's my best advice to you. Well, that was good. I got to you. Who else do I have here? Crispy and Philly. I think that was a sticker. Thanks for that, man. And I think that's it. I think I'm done today, guys. Gosh, I went 3:30. I didn't want to go that light. I still got to do another show. I got to do a recorded show at some point here. And last but not least, I want to leave you with this. Just that last conversation. When you're looking for, like, when we're talking about sexual agency, I think you need to run. I think people need to. I need to leave you with this message: is women innately default to this. They understand this instinctively, that their greatest agency, their greatest power is always their sexuality. Why is it that women instinctively strip their clothes off to get men's attention? If they want to protest demonstrate at a demonstration, or they want to do sort of some kind of performance art installation, right? If they want Lady Godiva, why did Lady Godiva strip naked and get on a horse and ride through the town, right? Why would that be? Why on earth? Like, what guy would think that, right? Why on earth would that be an instinctive thing, a reflex for women to do? It's because they know on a limbic, like lizard brain, like the base of the brainstem level, that sexuality is their only agency, their only real agency. And it's certainly the most immediate and the easiest one to default to. That's why it's an instinct. So when women want to make a point, when they want to protest something, when they want to get into the middle of the Catholic Church on Christmas Mass and say, I am God, they strip off their shirts and it says, I am God across their naked breasts. Why not wear a shirt that says I am God? Why not hold a big placard? Because I saw this one video. I saw this one, and you guys have probably seen this too. I saw this one video. I think it was on Newsmax. It was maybe it was The Post or something like that. Somebody put up a video of this chick, and I think she was in New Mexico, and she was doing rock climbing, and she was buck naked, except for her shoes. Everybody was saying, well, she's not naked if she's got shoes on. But she would say how empowering it was to be buck naked and do rock climbing while she was buck naked. Now, if a guy had done that, he'd go to jail. In fact, guys wouldn't think to do that. That was so empowering, so freeing for me to go and climb to the top of this, this mesa or wherever she was. And then she gets on the top and she's dancing around. Hey, look, I'm empowered. Da, 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 da. I'm naked. Right? Take your clothes off. And it's empowering. Why? Why is that even like the first? Why does that as an instinctive natural reflex? Because women know that their only agency in this life is their sexuality, and they fear losing it. That's why we have installations. That's why we have social conventions that convince women that the party's never over, that they never lose it. That's why you get the 40-year-old woman who thinks she has a right to show her body off, and teaches her 13-year-old girl, who also it resonates with, that the same thing. Because it's innate. That's how it works. That's reflexive. And that's, you know what? That's power for guys. Knowledge is power. So knowing that how do you get to amuse mastery, Rollo? You have the mastery by understanding women's nature. That is women's nature. Got it? Good. Great. Goodbye, incel in denial. Thanks for playing. Boy, lots and lots of trolls today, and I know why, and you probably do too. All right, I will be in Vegas this coming week. I will have a recorded show for you guys I think I'm just going to drop it on either Tuesday or Wednesday. I haven't decided which yet. And then we have Rule Zero, which is going to be Saturday. I believe it's Troy. Troy's up next, so it'll be on Troy's watch. He's got the duty this week. Am I right? Yeah, I am. Okay, I just got to look at my schedule. And then last but not least, if you guys have if you have questions about anything here, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'm probably going to dice this up because this went really hella long, and I think we did some pretty good stuff here today. I'm glad you guys. Thank you for following me for a long time. We were up to like 1,700 at one point. Not bad for a solo show. So anyways, by the way, counseling. So I want to leave this. This will be my last thing here is I am doing counseling, but I am going to do it in a group session. I'm going to do it in a Zoom group. So if you have been hitting me up for counseling, saying, what does it cost? How do I get an hour? How do I book an hour? I'll still do one-on-one if you think that you don't want to have, if you don't want to be in a group session with guys and like sort of airing your dirty laundry. I'm totally cool with that. I understand that. I will still do one-on-one, but I want you to consider doing a group thing. Like doing a group. First of all, I'm doing this for two reasons. One is I would have to clone myself to meet the demand of all the guys. I've probably got 4 or 5 of them today in my email. What I need you to do is, if you're cool with that, and even if you're not, just do this anyways, right? I'm collecting emails. I will eventually, I'm going to give you guys, you probably have them already, but I'm going to give you little snippets of all 4 books. If you sign up for the email, which is on the email list, which is on therationalmale.com, just go there. It'll pop right up. I've got it going right now. So go to therationalmale.com, sign up for the email list, and then you'll be put on the list so that when I've got the counseling things coming up, I'll let you know what the price is, and I'll let you know like when we're going to do it. But if that's something that you can do. I'm also going to be doing a newsletter just one weekly newsletter. It's a short thing. I'm not going to spam your inbox or anything like that. It's just sort of give you updates on what's going on. But if you want to get some kind of counseling or some group counseling, and you want to be a part of that mailing list when I do the group counseling, get on that emailing list and we'll work with that. So that's the best thing I can tell you to do. If not, I'll still do one-on-ones. But again, I do analysis. I don't do counseling per se. If you think that the only solution for you is one-on-one, still doing it, but consider the group thing, because a lot of the guys who would be in that group will probably have a problem similar to yours, or they'll come up with something, or they'll say something that you hadn't thought of in particular. So check that out. The email list, Jason King, if you go to therationalmale.com, the email list will pop, the option will pop up on there. So go and hit that up, or you can just simply email me at rtrationalmale@gmail.com. You could do that too and say, hey, I want to be put on a list. Fine. I'll add you to the list, but it's easier for me to have you go and do this yourself. So there you go. I'll be happy to. And Tara Lynn, if you want to be in on that, fine. Join the list too. I'm cool with it. So let me know what you think. So group counseling is coming up. I'm planning on doing it probably the second week of May. So that'll be the first one. But again, consider it. If you're cool with that, that's fine. If not, then I can always do one-on-one as well. So hopefully that works for you. I will be back again this time next Sunday, and then look for Rule 0 on Saturday. The list is on therationalmale.com. Get on the email list on therationalmale.com. It's not hard to do. Just go on there. You'll see the prompt. Okay, there you go. All right, guys. If you have questions also, you can email me questions as well. So, all right, guys, thank you. I will see you later. Ned's breaking down the door now, so it's time for us to go for our second walk. Yes, we've had first walk, but what about second walk?